Twitch is quiet today. But that's okay. I think we can pick you all up. Haven't gotten to do any dancing. Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you all. Hey, guess what? I'm not coughing as much today. God bless. It's not going to be as disgusting a stream for y'all. Loud noises. That's right. How's everybody doing today? Having a good one? Getting those entries into the Saber Peregrine giveaway, I see. Good on you. It's Monday. And, man, it feels like it's been months since we've gotten a monthly report. But we get to check out what's going on with August. The devs are currently in their hibernative daddy bear wintertime sort of state where they like don't talk about as much because CitizenCon is coming up and we got some interesting stuff planned for CitizenCon, no doubt. But we're still getting monthly reports. And I haven't looked through this one yet, to be honest. It looks like a decent sized one. Not super long, not super short. Hopefully there's some good nuggets in there. I'm sure plenty of you have already read it and you've got your own thoughts. But we're about to go through this live here on the stream. And then we're going to hop over and watch the newest Star Citizen live talking with Benoit Bougejour about server meshing and stability and plans leading up to 4.0 and what happened with 3.24 and all that stuff. So, thank you if you're live. I appreciate you as always. And if you're not live, if you're watching this after the fact, maybe join us live one of these times. But also thank you for watching the video afterwards because it means everything to me. Much appreciated. I hope you get all your laughs and your cries and your screaming at the TV out during this stream. I hope that not sponsored by Pepsi. I wish that would be amazing. Again, as I said, I would not take a sponsor from soda, but still. Pepsi though. And I hope that even if you're not screaming or crying or laughing at the screen, at the very least there's some entertainment to be had. Thank you for joining me, Notification Gang. I always appreciate you. First one's in, last one's out. Bassin. Welcome in, buddy. It's Monday. No dancing this time, but dude, it's Deus Ex. How can you not love a stream starting with some Deus Ex? Shentar. Good to see you, Fresh Prince. Welcome. Frisch Prince, of course. Happy Gondola. Happy Gondola. TB. Gat. Welcome. Perk. Space Guy. Shifty. Matt Sully. Daft Digit. Hello, my friends. Dr. Volo. Matt Sully and Lagafi. Warface and a brother named Ananzi. Thank you all for coming tonight, Tria. First time catching us live. This is the only game you play that isn't medieval. Wait, what other games you playing then? Like Crusader Kings? Flopaloro 7, buddy. How you doing? First Gordon. Hey, talking about master molds. As much as I despise the topic of the molds that are masterful, I will be having that as a discussion this week's podcast to put it to rest. Okay, I want to have one final talk about this and be like, this is it. The last time I talk about master modes. Because from there we move on to whatever happens next in the flight model. But this little pocket of development that they've dedicated to the flight model there, it's going to be one more time for me and then I'm out. Because oh my gosh. Zhao, welcome in, buddy. Hello. Sick Mechanico. Your name's so hard, man. First timer here, finally made a live stream. Dennis, happy to have you with us. I hope you enjoyed today's show. These are the best in my opinion. Mondays are great because we just chill and talk. We kick back, we go back and forth with chat, and we go over something that has to do with development, generally, news and updates. First, though, we could look at the new website. They updated the website. It's kind of stealthy. I don't even think they put an announcement out about it. It just kind of happened. And I gotta say, they still, what I would want them to do with this is to make what is Star Citizen be the first thing you see when you get on this website. Because golly gee willikers, it's hard to explain that to people. And I wish that they could just come up with a good, like, 5-sentence explanation of what the game is now and the fact that it's in alpha and still developing and things are final, like all that kind of stuff. Please put it out right up in the front. But no, the first thing you see is a literal sale because it's the, what do they call these? The carousel is the first thing that you see. And right now that's the CitizenCon goodies bag, which seems a little premature, but yeah, you know what? That's what's going on. You think Coke Mix is better than Pepsi? Oh, Matt. Thank you everybody who's coming into this stream for the first time. Appreciate you if you're getting this live. I spend a couple of minutes in the beginning of all these streams just kind of chatting with chat and talking to talk and saying hello to everybody because I appreciate you guys. You mean a lot. And I feel like, you know, what's the point of me just getting started and ignoring you, right? Polaris and hot chocolate, only topics that matter. Swagasaurus Rex. If we could do VIPs on YouTube, you would get one of those. That's such a great post. I'm not much for Polaris, but if you mention hot chocolate, you're in my good books. Kyle Welling, good to see you, dude. Welcome in. Dennis, hello. You have to say the devs you met in Bar Citizen, their love for the game was contagious. Dude, it'd be like that. Bar Citizen is a great time for the community. It's a good time to share and talk, and also it's good marketing, you know? Bannerlord mostly and Total War. A lot of your group plays Crusader Kings. Okay. The only game I play that could be considered medieval is Civ, and that's only medieval for like 1/8 of the match. Hey, Cad from France. Not a fan of the website update. Can't find anything. I feel like it's better than it was before. Like this bar up top at least tells you more things. But let's see. Did they update the page like the comms link page? Or is it just... Yeah, see? They do this. They always do this. They only update one of the pages, so when you click off and you go to somewhere else, it still looks like the old, like, is the ship matrix updated? No, it's not. Man. So we're still old style in a lot of the website, I guess. But hey, you know, this is all new. It's spiffy. Front page is spiffy. You still got to go to the website to find out everything, though. Discover content, join the discussion, organizations report a bug. That's decent. Shows the shows. Shows the comm links. This could be, I think they should be more straightforward with this and be like, this is our blog. Like, this is the Star Citizen development blog. This is everything that gets updated in terms of text and posts. I think that'd be pretty nice to show. How does a shop look? Same. See? Like, I really wish that one day when they did one of these updates, they'd update everything at the same time. At the same time, though, I bet they're going to update a lot of this later. Explore, fight, and earn. Let's see. Fight, explore, earn. What is explore? Oh, these aren't clickable. Explore, fight, and trade to make your... What? All right, they can't be saying explore as if that's like equivalent to fighting. There's way more fighting than exploring. Come on now. And don't tell me I can earn stuff. Uh-oh. Did I just lose sound? What just happened? Go XLR, what'd you do? Can y'all still hear me? I lost my own, I lost my music. There we go. It's back. We get something a little more relaxing, though. We good? Cool. Go buy Star Citizen PU and it doesn't even tell you it's an alpha, but Squadron is in development. Play now. Play now. Yeah, no, they don't. Man, this is... Let's see, if I was coming into this blind and I saw this limited time offer, I'd probably immediately ignore this, right? I don't want a limited time offer if I'm just getting into the game. Although it's a way to get people. But you scroll down, you see standard pack, premium pack. Obviously, the freaking 100i looks better. But you gotta wonder to yourself, like, what makes this standard versus this being premium? They list the perks out of order, but it looks like they both have the same money. You get 3 months more insurance here, which, God, why do they list that? That doesn't matter. And you get the same hanger. It doesn't tell you anything about the ship you're getting, though. I really hope that they eventually put a third option here for, like, no ship. You just want to get into the game, you know? I'm trying to be crew. Hey, Sick, thank you for the sub. And Zero, thank you as well for the sub, man. 8 months. 8 months Zero's been around subbing. Subbing up. Also, a great member of GII. Hashtag join GII. Is cereal considered to be soup if you like your soups cold? I used to melt my ice cream and call it soup, so I mean, anything counts. Go by, the new website doesn't show the devs posts. That's what you used it for. Yeah, that's kind of annoying, huh? It doesn't show the dev tracker. You have to come up here to community. Or is it explore? Yeah, and then go to dev tracker here. It was nice to be able to scroll down and just see all the posts from the devs. So on the menu for today, we're doing monthly report. We're going to look at everything that's going on with Star Citizen's development leading up to 4.0. And then we're going to check out the new Star Citizen Live with Benoit. Looking at what happened with 3.24, what's going on with 4.0. You like the new site? I love the styling of the site. Maybe organized a little differently.
Wow.
Wonder when we'll find out what insurance actually is. How can they sell something completely undefined? I think it's just buyback. I mean, obviously, you're not just going to permanently lose a ship that you've paid money for. But I think it mainly is how quickly you can get your ship back. Or maybe in which areas you can get it back. But yeah, it hasn't been exactly defined. And I feel like they haven't defined it because they haven't gotten all the gameplay elements down in stone. Day Zero confusion is RSI versus CIG versus Star Citizen. Then like RSI is an inverse brand. That is confusing. $100i is a rich boy toy. Aurora's working man's tool. Working man's tool. Hey, I work with my 100i. Don't hate. Don't hate. All right. Y'all ready to talk development? We got the monthly report from August here, which goes over generally what's been happening in the studio. Not everything. Definitely not everything. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be left out of this that they're going to show us at CitizenCon, and there's also plenty of things that go on in the company, I think, that just don't get talked about here because either they aren't for sure. Like, they're things that if they said them in the monthly report and then we didn't see them come into the game within the next 6 months, people like myself would probably start quoting it in videos and causing uproar and stuff. So I think they do keep some of that stuff out of here. But for the most part, we're going to get real detailed into what's going on with the development of Star Citizen. And then after that, for anybody watching this on YouTube, it'll be a different video. We're going to go into the recent Star Citizen Live talking to Benoit about 4.0 server meshing and all that stuff. This is going to be your normal Space Tomato deep dive into this. I'll be bringing up videos to reference some of this stuff, context from old posts that they've made about this stuff. We might even go back to old monthly reports. You know how it is. Take a lot longer than it's supposed to. And chat, we'll obviously be able to get in our own scruffles about it all. So let's get started. Kicking it off with the AI features team. Remember, AI features, they list it out of order now. At least I think it's out of order. So the way this is supposed to go is you have tech, which works on the tech, and they pass it to features, who's developing the features, and then the content team takes those features and turns it into actual content for the game. But maybe I'm wrong. Either way, we're starting with features today. Last month, that being August, AI features polished various reactions, including the first reactions when AIs respond to audio or visual events. While these behaviors had a solid base, various combat styles, weapons, and scenarios didn't play consistently, such as when escalating from a low reaction to a high reaction. To improve this, the team built a new AI test level called a test cell. This is a building block setup with different character types, weapons, covers, usable, etc. that allows the team to pick and mix different setups to produce a consistent version of test scenarios. A particular combination can be exported as one cell and imported into a single level where multiple test scenarios can be played simultaneously, allowing the team to quickly identify mistakes, fix them, and retest. You know, it'd be great to do with this, CIG. You know, it'd be absolutely the best thing ever to do with this system. Give us that PvE horde mode and let us test it out for you, please. Pretty please, thank you. That'd be great. Awesome, thanks. Hey, Alfian, welcome in. Good to see you. Hello, hello. Been a little while. I hope work's treating you well. I hope the ever bickering children, Star Citizen and Squadron 42, are not trying to take too much of your attention from one another. And you're having a good old September. Did I see someone put the Atlas on the Orison Transit? I saw a thumbnail for it, I think, yeah. All right. What else is the features going? The test cell level is also being used for cover hit reactions, which have different animation setups per cover type, combat style, and weapon type. Going forward, the test cell will be expanded to provide more consistency across a wide range of areas. I don't know how advanced the AI is going to be for Star Citizen. Obviously, reading this every month leads us to feel like it's very in-depth and very well developed and like it's going to be very detailed. We don't see a lot of this stuff in the game because of A, it hasn't been put in Star Citizen, it's mostly in Squadron, or B, the servers don't even allow us to see these kinds of behaviors. All I can hope for is that the AI is going to be as tricky as they were back in Fear from 20 years ago, because I still feel like the Fear AI, maybe it was simple, but the way it presented itself was so impressive to me. Man, the way that they would strategize, and yeah, that's my hopes. You're strung between the two projects, still currently working hard on sitcom stuff, might actually show up on stage. Oh, I will keep an eye out. That'd be awesome. What will you be presenting if you show up on stage? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to say that. But I hope whatever you do present, you're feeling proud of it, and the people are clapping their is off. You know, all the claps. Yeah, I loved Fear AI. I loved Fear the game. That game freaked the crap out of me. I could never finish it, but I like watching other people play it. So tired of games with NPC AI that is awful. Yo, tell me about it. Civ 6? Oh my gosh. I ought to get Mrs. Tomato in here. She'd go on a rant about Civ's AI. They just, woo. Higher difficulty? Nah, we'll just give them more warriors out of nowhere. Oh, we'll just keep padding their bank so they can spawn archers out of nowhere. Give me real better AI, okay? Don't just give them advantages over me. It's dumb. But yeah, I love fighting AI. I'm more of a PvE player when it comes to gaming. And Gears of War Horde mode, Halo Flood mode, Call of Duty Zombies, whatever you want to call it, that's like my go-to. I'm going to do a ton of that whenever that comes out. Gandhi requires nukes. Wasn't there like a glitch where you could, like, the civilization AI was based on a scale of 0 to 100 aggressiveness, and Gandhi was at like 1? And if you did something specific, it would actually downgrade his aggressiveness, so he went below 0, which popped him up to 100, and then he'd use nukes. That's hilarious. Excuse me. Still fighting the cold. I did see the ending of Fear, yeah, no worries. But never played through it myself. That was Civ 5, okay. All right, AI tech. The people cooking at the very bottom. These are the ones mixing the yeast with the flour and the water, you know, making the chemical reactions happen in the AI's head. AI tech continued to improve how NPC transitions between servers, including serializing movement requests and navigation paths. They also updated navigation generation elements, including one relating to computing navigation islands and one used when exporting processes into object containers. Progress was also made on converting the Apollo Tools UI style. A new feature continued development too, which the feature will share more about in the future. Apollo! It's been a little while. I love to always... anybody who's been around here long enough, you've definitely... You've gone through this multiple times where I see something mentioned about Apollo, and I gotta bring it up. The old Subsumption UI. It goes back. We got the old. This is like 2018. March 29th, 2018. This is basically how the AI functions in terms of its flowchart. If this, then that, essentially, but on a very large scale. And with a lot of different other things in there, like if this and that would be super simple. I love that app, by the way. This is like for missions and for AI, how they can make things flow from one to another. So we got another look at this pretty recently when Elliot, I believe, was on Star Citizen Live here. Yeah, Elliot Maltby, you can see in the corner here. And he was showing off how it flowed based on a mission running. The old Subsumption UI is an eyesore. Some peeps here still use it when Apollo has a bug sometimes. Yeah, the old one, I mean, even this looks fairly similar. I think this is, yeah, it looks pretty similar. This is 2023 compared to 2018. This was an external tool. Okay, the new Apollo is in the Star Engine editor now. Cool. So this, like, Apollo replaced this kind of? Good to know. Yeah, that's good. Is this it down here, by any chance? It does look quite similar. This does say Subsumption. So there is a chance this is the Apollo editor. And it looks cleaner. I'll give you that. Praise be to dark mode. Heavens be, praise be. Bless the sun. Yeah, and the more difficult settings, the AI would flank you in fear. And then they were also freaking the shit out of you. Like, that game was all kinds of stuff. It was ahead of its time. And it was also defining of its time. Loved it. Big fan. A new feature continued in development too, which the team will share more about in the future. Love that. By the time they share about it, I'll forget about this sentence that they told us they would. AI content. In August, the social AI designers joined the narrative team to form a larger group focused on improving the Star Citizen experience. I love that. As part of this, they began meeting with design and creative directors to walk through various locations, looking for opportunities to clean up existing behaviors or add new ones. While many of the behaviors will be based on work done for Squadron 42, the expansive nature of the PU will require bespoke additions. Yeah, I freaking hope so. We got a lot of factions in Star Citizen, and I think one of the biggest things that would separate Squadron 42 from Star Citizen are the amount of different groups of people they can actually make act a little bit different. Obviously, you're going to have to use a lot of animations, wild lines, and stuff across multiple star systems and factions, but I would love to get a solid idea of how it's different to live in Crusader and come across a Ninetales person versus being in Odin and coming across a headhunter. You know, like, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons for having different star systems is so that it feels like a kind of a different game when you're in a different star system. Otherwise, what so much is the point? And the way the AI acts, the site dressing, the music, of course, the risk, the economy, like, there's a lot of things that go into that. Glad to hear that they're working on social AI. Can't wait to actually experience all this AI work. Dude, I've been saying that for years. I agree. Pretty sure that if we would experience perfect server performance across the board, many players would complain the AI is too hard. Well, pay me more for my jobs then, and I'll hire some escorts. AI content is also in the process of reviewing a location throughout Pyro, ensuring the environment and behavior setups work correctly together and instill a sense of the intended narrative. The team also met with the designers of an upcoming mission to provide support for some of the locations that will be visited by players, including applying believable behaviors to NPCs. Aside from outlining behavior improvements and needs for Star Citizen 1.0, narrative design kicked off several initiatives to determine the required tech and use cases for future social spaces. This will ultimately lead to a vertical slice showing a gold standard social space with the level of interaction the game will aim for. We gotta get a Star Citizen Live about that. That's gotta be a Star Citizen Live. We've seen some pretty interesting stuff AI related on Star Citizen Live. Oh my god, there's so many. Okay, I'm just gonna, whenever these take a while to load, I'm just gonna put them on the screen so you guys can watch the process as well, because sometimes this takes some time. Obi-Wan wants his jumper back. Obi-Wan's a homie, man. I really like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. That's good times. Every time I see that, it's a very nostalgic feeling. I love this. That was a nice little white sweater Mrs. Tomato got for me. Let's see. So we got some AI updates. This was the combat stuff. This was, yeah, this is that. This is navigation. Huh. Here we go. So we got some interesting stuff from Star Citizen Live here, where they showed us different clips of AI doing stuff. This was an AI that was, you know, basically jumping between what they were calling, I think, navigation islands. Using, gosh, what did they call them? Nav links? Maybe? Navigation links or something like that. This is just him putting an elevator in an elevator, a trolley in an elevator, and then taking it out, which seems pretty simple, but, you know, obviously comes with the added complication that this guy is running on code and needs to be able to transition between two zones. And this is kind of what they were talking about with the servers too. So if these two zones were in different servers, they'd have to make sure that the AI understands its switching servers and does everything in a coordinated fashion. Now we also saw... I don't think I got the loading of the trolley. That one is actually more interesting, I think. But I don't see that on here. It's called a nav mesh, but the things that they used to connect the two nav meshes, they called, I think, a navigation link or something like that. But I'm not seeing what I was looking for. Maybe if I search for trolley? Actually, let me just look at where this is in here. Yeah, I don't think I saved that clip, unfortunately. There is a clip, though, of the AI actually loading up a trolley himself with boxes. That's significant, but I don't have it. And we've seen a lot of updates like that in Star Citizen Live. I think this sounds like it would be a really good opportunity to get more AI updates from there. It's all fine and great, but I'm really looking forward to all of this. But when are we going to get some actual reason to play, like rep rewards, item rewards, craft achievements with rewards? Grant, I'm asking the same questions, man. They were talking about it at CitizenCon last year, but we have not seen it yet. Some better rewards would be nice. You'd love to have AIs doing the automatic ship loading, but you'll understand it's hard to do. Here's something I'm putting in a video I'm working on later this week. It should be out by Friday. There was actually a concept UI that was shown off a couple of years ago. Here we go. And it actually gives some insight into the auto-loading feature, at least the idea they had for it overall. You can see here that they actually gave you the ability to add additional AI into that auto-loading function, which I would assume raises the price. See, they say they have 3,000 credits for each worker, but also a 5% time reduction for each worker. And I think it would be amazingly nice if you could decide, hey, I want to spend more money so I have less time, or less money, more time kind of thing. And it's not just like a one size fits all for automatic loading. I honestly don't know if they'll ever get it to the point where there are actual AI carrying or moving those boxes for you in the game. That sounds super complex, but at least we have seen some maybe signs that it'll be able to be customized by us. Who knows though? Who knows if that's just an idea that was put in on the UI or if that's something they actually have in mind. Here's what you can expect from medical facility going forward. You'd love to know what social spaces they're targeting for vertical slices, or what exactly are they going to target for change. Yeah, I don't know. Need to give a shout out to Tomato for being one of the few positive YouTubers out there. Too much hate and negativity going around these days. People just want to see the things that they care about get developed, you know? Everybody's got a nugget of... Everybody's got a nugget of positivity that they try to focus on, though. Sorry, got distracted by the front door. Needing real AI to load the ship seems like a huge resource drain. Yeah, but immersion. All right, where was I? AI, in parentheses, Game Intelligence Development Team. So the GI team. The GIDT. GIDT. This is your AI GIDT section. Okay. In August, the game... Oh. I think our niece is here. She had her first day of school today. Very happy for her. In August, the Game Intelligence Development Team concentrated on delivering a clean and stable Apollo StarScript UX update. So there's our confirmation. This is Apollo. I'm going to save this. Hello. I love being able to just search for that. This involved adding support for higher icon resolutions so they stay sharp when zoomed in, and straightening lines for clearer read. Drag and drop was improved too. Now when hovering, ports with a bigger selection range are highlighted. The devs corrected the color and size of imported notes, added arrowheads to links leading to closed groups, and enlarged the hovering area and highlights on links and ports. Drop points were also added to links to identify the desired selected line. For anybody who is a game developer at a company that makes software, like it uses additions to a game engine or their own game engine, is this the fun part? Because whenever I see tools like this, or Hex, or Quasar, or any of the other things that they're making for Star Citizen, I'm like, man, I feel like that's almost like a game on its own. We had Naz on the YouTube recently and just started looking over his roadmap project. I find it interesting that there was a major drop of features in 2021 and we are now getting those items in. It could have to do with the Squadron 42 delays. Like the updates in the course section. Yeah, the course section is going to be fun. It's always good fun. I think our personal NPCs can be used to unload our ships if we want in the future, but doubt many people will use that. Yeah, maybe not. I prefer to be abusing a real player in game, you know? Pick up my boxes. I don't want it. I'm paying you 5 UEC per hour. Pick up my boxes. All right, animation team. August saw the facial animation team developing content to flesh out more of the game world's characters. Gameplay animation continued to work on a selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos alongside improving the creatures already in the PU. They also progressed with an unannounced addition that the team is looking forward to seeing in game. Yeah, well, that can be said about anything. What creatures have we seen teased? Let's search creatures. Oh, that literally gives me nothing. Oh. Okay, creatures gives me no results, but creature gives me plenty. So we've seen some of these already. We got the pyro crab that they eventually went with. That's this guy. I wonder if they'll launch this with pyro. I'm feeling like they will. It feels like it's about the time that we see this guy come in with actual pyro update, and I'm here for it. This guy seems tough and large. What else we got? We got this thing. I named it Kangaroo. A giant kangaroo looking thing. To me, take out full. There we go. Got this guy. This is probably what ended up becoming the Copion. Little tiger looking guy. But this is way bigger than the Copion, so I don't know. A lot of these are earlier concepts. I don't know if they're coming in. These are the concepts for the Boreal Stalker. This will be found on Microtech. Oh. And the actual Boreal Stalker is... I believe they're going to show it here. This guy. So there's quite a few options, and then obviously we've got the space whales, which we still haven't seen. What's with the random ATLS cargo mech release? No infos on mech since the canceled community challenge years ago, and then random release of one. It happens sometimes. They do try to keep some things under wraps. So yeah, cargo whales. Space whales will be a thing in Crusader. Those are probably pretty difficult to do. But we are expected to be able to like land on them and harvest some resources off of them, as seen in this concept art. Yeah, they got like barnacles on them that supposedly will have some harvestables, which would make for some interesting like mission or something. And then they've teased it a couple times, as they just said. A couple teasers here and there. So like they've got the model basically figured out. It's just a matter of getting the AI working probably. Yeah, the spider. We got to the spider. No worries there. We'll never forget that thing. All right, Ort. Okay, this is Ort on the character side. Character Ort continued working on utility and specialist armors, while character concept Ort supported IAE and progressed with their ongoing exploration of fauna. Still not really sure what utility and specialist armors will look like. The in-game concept vid did not seem like something you can land on. Maybe they took that away. We will see. And maybe you can't land on it. Maybe you have to jump onto it. I hope that they still include that, though. That was, I think, a good idea to have with the space whales. Ort on the ship side. Last month's ship art moved several unannounced vehicles toward their Graybox reviews, while others approached their Lot Zero and final content reviews. Lot Zero and final content are pretty close to being released. I don't know what the heck others means. Usually they give us at least some number. I'm guessing one of these was the Atlas exosuit. Another one is probably whatever is going to come out at CitizenCon. It's probably the Zeuses are included in this. I think Zeuses would definitely be Lot Zero at this point. Let's see, Star Citizen, July. Monthly report. Treeport. On the ship side, working towards new milestones for the Zeus. They give so little detail when it comes to these ship updates in the monthly reports recently. Like, they're not telling us anything. If you go to the year before, let's see. Ship team progressed with the RSI Polaris. The RSI Zeus Mark II is also approaching its final content review. So this one hit final content review all the way back in June. So this is probably something else. Unless maybe this was about the ES and now they're talking about the CL. I don't know. But we dropped back a year prior to this, and look at how big the art ship updates are. They're huge. They're multiple paragraphs. Now we get like 2 sentences. And it's not just this month either. You could probably go... I mean, let's look at what this month last year looked like for this. August 2023, what did the art on the ship side look like? Look at that. Look at how much more text there is. They're just so quiet about ships now, you know? They don't want to give anything away. But there are several possibilities of what this could be. I think we're definitely looking at... one of these. At least one of these. So this one is being considered more and more to be a Crusader starter ship. Because apparently John Cruz said there was one coming. I still don't know where that is. If somebody could send that link to me with the timestamp, that'd be great. And then there's this one, which is a Mirage ship. Pretty obviously a Mirage ship. And we still don't know exactly what this is. But both of these are expected to be coming in the next 12 months after this show. Just about everything has been delivered. So let's go back through it real quick and watch what they had to say about this.
Add to that as well, we aim to deliver everything you see in this video and more in the next 12 months.
So they've hit the and more, right? We've gotten things like the Peregrine, the Firebird. We just got the Atlas. And am I missing anything? There may have been one more that they didn't announce here. But we got these. So these are the pulses. We got the X1s from Origin. This was the Medical Ursa. The Argo MPV Tractor, or MPU Tractor. This is the one that we don't know about yet, but should be coming soon. And then this one also. These are the only two that we haven't gotten, or we don't know about at least. There's a couple that we haven't gotten in here too. So the Legionnaire we haven't gotten. This one's not coming in 12 months. I'm pretty sure they already confirmed they were wrong about this one. And I think this one's being held back by gameplay. Because not only have we not seen this ship in any form of development, they haven't said a single word about hacking. We went over this on the last stream. Hacking has been completely devoid of talk this year, even though it was supposed to be in the preview channel. So I think this is being held back by hacking gameplay and not necessarily the ship team, but I don't think we're getting the Legionnaire. Then this is the Zeus, I believe, which we should be seeing sometime in the next, probably in the next month, I would guess. I mean, they might release this for CitizenCon, but definitely in the next month and a half. Modular Retaliator. Polaris. Which clearly was the fan favorite there. So there's only 2 ships from that list that they still need to unveil. And I'm guessing at least one of them is included in this list. Now, Graybox is probably meaning things like, unless it's a small ship or vehicle, Graybox means it's probably not coming until IAE at the earliest. But possibly even after that, December or even in the new year. So it's these LOD 0 ones that I'm looking forward to most. And LOD 0 is like a very high level of detail before they get to things like lighting and damage pass and stuff. I'm going to be working on a video probably this month. I'm trying to kind of time it to coincide with the release of the Zeus, whenever the heck that is. but a video that goes over the entire process of how they make these ships, from concept to white box, gray box, final art, and then released into the game. And if you are a supporter, I will be trying to release a exclusive video alongside that goes over what the gold standard of ships is. So keep an eye out for those ship videos. Yay. Okay, work on the RSI Polaris also continued with the ship's exterior approaching completion. That's a big deal for a lot of people. I know if Dre's in chat, he's shaking. Hoping those new ships aren't racers. They're gonna release only racers just for you. Community, we mostly skip. But here at the end it says, the progress tracker was also updated with the latest production schedule through 2024. It introduces a significant shift in how deliverables are tracked while maintaining transparency throughout the year. Further updates, including 2025, will follow soon. We better be getting that Road to 1.0 at CitizenCon. And I don't mean like Road to 1.0 as in 2018 style where they show us the different slides. I want to see the list of what they expect 1.0 to include. Really got to have that. People need to know what this game is going to be. Okay. Core gameplay. The best segment. This one's good fun. Throughout August, the various gameplay features teams continued to improve the hangar and cargo flows for Alpha 324 based on feedback from the PTU. Meanwhile, a lot of behind-the-scenes changes progressed that will improve how various gameplay systems handle environments that span multiple servers. Wondering if that's the RMQ testing they talked about. What'd you miss so far? Art, animation, and AI. Progress was made on the overheat mechanic, with core gameplay adding support for different atmospheric temperatures. For example, weapons will overheat at different rates based on their environments. Dude, oh, that's what I love to hear. This has so many ramifications. The music that's playing right now is called Monuments by Signals. At least that's what my collection says. That might be completely wrong, but give it a go. So, the overheat mechanic. Oh my god! I've been waiting so long for this because if you go back in the roadmap, freaking Heat's been around since, what, 3.4, 3.5? Yeah, Heat 3.5. Improvements to the Heat system to provide a more systemic experience between items and vehicles. This will cover a variety of issues and their effects on vehicles, from how heat affects various components in a ship to incorporating heat values into the room system, all the way up to defining the ambient heat of a solar system. We kind of have this already, right? Goodspeed, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. We kind of have heat in some ways. Obviously, you go to different planets and your temperature says that it's a different type of heat in wherever you are. But not everything really reacts to that. On top of that, not everything has heat components. So like, something that I've always thought was weird was how you could stand underneath a thruster and it wouldn't do anything to you. They need to start to apply heat to those different things. Your weapon output, your vehicle output, your ship output, all this stuff. And hearing them talk about the idea that overheating will affect your weapons based on your environment, it sounds like that's the start of that movement. Not saying that suddenly we're going to get burned to a crisp from our terrapin thrusters pointed right at the entrance of our ship, but these are kind of like the first big steps, I think, in making that happen. And in my favorite games where there was an overheat mechanic, my mind immediately goes back to the plasma rifle in Halo CE. It's like the OG that I learned about maintaining firing rate so that my gun didn't overheat. Having that change based on your environment is pretty nuts. Because then we go and we look at, or we consider the way that life support is going to work in this game. When you have the ambient temperature of a room can be changed based on how you want to keep your ship. I don't know. This is probably a very silly example, but just imagine you have people who are boarding your ship and you know that they only use energy weapons, so you just crank the temperature inside your ship. So all their guns overheat too quickly, and all of your ballistic toting friends are like, yeah, we got them. Like, it's that kind of dynamic stuff that I always love from immersive sims. And this feels like an aspect kind of coming from an immersive sim approach. Luna Maria, good to see you in chat. Welcome in. I love this kind of stuff. It's all nice and all, but we need org content. Give me a coughing fit. I hear you. That's just, it's really funny the way that was presented. Like, yeah, I know. Of course, we all like water, sure. But how about nuclear fission? It's just like completely other direction. You see that our ship won't be able to run systems only on 33%, but our ships won't be able to fully cool themselves too. It'll be cool too, because this kind of means that, like, thank you.
Science.
Mrs. Tomatoes medicine.
Thank you, science.
And don't worry, no, I don't need one of those, thank you. There will be no documentary coming out about how she was dragging me into submission or something like that.
Oh my. No, that's all in private.
No, then they would be able to quote this and put it on the documentary. Hi, Netflix. Yeah, this will be sick. So you guys remember when the 400i came out and they had the compartments that were specifically kind of air conditioned? It's all part of this system. The cooler you run your ship, probably the better your components are going to be able to run. Same with like weapons and different things like that. While that will stress your life support more, that might be what you care more about. And I love that. The heat stuff explains master modes more, the quantum shutting down shields and weapons. It would be nice if that was actually worked into engineering, you know? Like, if that was actively displayed on a screen like this. But I imagine making that dynamically work to where it would shut things down could allow people to get around it and also really complicates things. Isn't it too much for gameplay? I don't think so. I think for Sims, these are the kind of small details they try to build in. It's not like it's something that's always going to affect you, but it hits you on those edge cases. So like, when I'm playing Satisfactory, for the most part, I'm not going to care about something that has to do with overclocking. But when I want to get just barely more, you know, just a little bit more out of what I'm doing, then you start to consider more of those kinds of really minute details they put into the game to get the most. Do I have my song list anywhere? I do not. I'm sorry. People ask you about it, and I never get it updated, or I never get it listed anywhere. Need to finish the server meshing testing video. Oh, the podcast episode? All right. We're only 2 lines into core gameplay. Charge and Drain progressed 2, and now features client-side prediction to give immediate feedback to players when they're charging or draining, even if there's latency between the client and server. Gah! I love that. I need that for mining. You guys, how many times have you been mining and you're like throttling your laser up and down, and then everything just kind of hitches for like half a second, and that's all you needed to go over the limit and blow the rock. Oh my gosh. Client-side feedback that's pretty cool. Hopefully that doesn't mean that people can start to cheat it though. When is this song playing? Demons and Angels by Maya Pacziga. Pacziga. P-A-C-Z-I-G-A. Yeah, all the time, man. Charge and Drain is also cool. Because we've had we've had this idea of the resource management system for such a long time, and that was always kind of what we expected to be engineering. That being this stuff, basically just balancing your power output, turning components on and off, changing out fuses. But now they're introducing actual repair on these components, and they're also introducing charge and drain, which allows you to remove distortion damage or overclock an item. And it's like, if you combine these various components, it makes engineering sound more interesting than just balancing power. So like, yeah, they're using lasers for quite a bit of it, but there's also some other parts that are physical, like the fuses and stuff like that, and moving components. And I think while lasers might be disappointing to some people, if they can combine lasers with other things, it still allows for there to be some pretty nice dynamic gameplay there. The team began adding logic to declutter the UI by grouping markers of the same type, while the implementation of weapon groups and group presets continued. I know people don't like the way the UI is cluttered up, especially with missiles right now. August saw continued progress on jump points, which began with improved debugging tools to better visualize potential exit points for players. Turbulence was also implemented, which will affect the flight experience within the tunnel. The designers are currently tweaking the strength to get the desired impact. Visual effects were added too, including cockpit vibration based on where in the tunnel the player is located. An obstacle, I wonder if that's just cockpit or if the whole ship will vibrate. And obstacles were placed that players will be required to navigate around. Further failure states for jump tunnels were determined before the feature was submitted to QA for testing. Nice. So it's in QA for testing in August. Sounds like it's like things are pretty good when it comes to jump tunnels. Progress was then made on the resource network, engineering, gameplay, and life support. That's what we just were looking at. For example, core gameplay implemented a new behavior for critical components, which will replace the existing soft death mechanic. When live, only certain items like power plants will trigger an explosion or soft death. When oh boy. Holy f***. Oh my gosh. That is so big. That's wild. Jesus, that's like... Dude, I can't even... When was the first time we were told that's going to be the case? Wow. That's so nice to hear. So this is like one of the biggest parts of ships in the game, I feel like. That ships won't blow up anymore. Oh man, like that's, I mean, we talk about death of a spaceman and going into combat and how often you die in this game. And this is like one of the biggest ways that you die getting removed. I'm not saying it will happen immediately when they make this change, but the idea that components will break rather than your ship exploding means that you could hit the ground and not explode. You could lose a dogfight and not die. I mean, this is like that's such a big change. That's this is the whole stopgap that or the reason they put in soft death as a stopgap. You won't blow up from a rock being thrown at you. Yeah. So I'm betting it's like power plants and quantum drives. And maybe jump drives. Like the really big, crucial things. If this is replacing existing soft death, then that might mean that this is removing hull HP. We'll have to see. Ow, just bit my tongue. We'll have to see. I bet they'll have an ISC about this because this is a really big deal. And I'm betting this won't be in for a little while, but that's a big change. It's been a while that they've been talking about that. Like one of the longest. Jaybird, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube, buddy. Appreciate you. Thanks for the support. When they say soft death post change, do they just mean no power, or is that same soft death that can't be repaired? Well, it's the same soft death that can't be repaired. So arguably, and this is me reading into it, don't take this as what they're saying, but this would potentially mean that you can repair a component to get a ship, or maybe replace a component that gets that can get a ship which was crippled back into working order. But we don't really have much to know about hull damage and hull repair just yet. This is such a big freaking point, though. This is probably the most significant part of this monthly report. Love it. What's up, Static? No, this is just a sweater, man. Just a comfy white sweater. Sweater weather. Oh boy, that's cool. The engineering screen was polished while a new room selection UI was added for life support. We just saw this. This was the engineering screen here. Looking a lot better than... I don't know if I have any good examples of what it looked like before. Let's see. No. No. You know, I actually don't think we had that screen before, now that I think of it. I don't think we ever had the screen that showed all the power levels. Yeah, soft death mechanic is being removed. You think the idea is that should always be able to repair your way back to turn the sides of the battle. Obviously, when Maelstrom and such come in, things might be different. Oh, and fire, if your fire is too big, it might be over. Yeah, I love the sound of that. Can I post that link? Which link? For the monthly report? Let's see, UI was added for life support. The team also gave design the ability to control the total power output of multiple active power plants. This way, more power plants don't necessarily result in linearly increasing power production. Significant time was also dedicated to fixing stability issues and bugs following QA testing. So basically to say that power plants will run in series rather than in parallel. Or no, will run in parallel rather than in series, kind of. I read your message, Elfian, and I like the sound of it. I'm wondering how Maelstrom will change all of that. But the idea that you'll be able to repair from whatever point you get damaged rather than just blowing up and going away is like that's like a fever dream of Star Citizen. That's been a while. Frost, Otis, thanks for the sub. Holston Coop and Playing Catch Up Gamer, thank you all for subbing up on Twitch. Appreciate you. Taking us towards that hype train. I see you. Yum, 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 yum. This is, yeah, that could be huge for salvagers too. Because when it comes down to it, the best form of salvage is going to be getting components from, you know, destroyed ships. When we have the ability to call for a rescue when your ship gets disabled, let's say your ship gets just ripped apart and you don't really want to spend the time saving it. Or the same for NPCs, right? Or just a battle ensues and the people end up getting killed somehow. Being able to come across those ships and get the components out of those is going to make you hundreds of thousands. It's... oh, man. Exciting. All right, where were we? July's work on radar and scanning continued throughout August, with the team reviewing it in Arena Commander to assess the impact on the player experience and tune values to achieve the desired effect. They also focused on closing out feature work for Delta signatures, giving design more control over how to react to changes. Tasks were completed for audio signatures too. So Delta signatures are significant moments in ship function. Activating quantum drives, powering up weapons, making a quantum jump. All of those types of things will trigger your computer or something. I don't know, Delta signature detected, something like that, that lets you know that something significant happened. And I do hope that this is their method of saying, okay, you're going to know when somebody is powering up their weapons. Like, I always thought master modes might be the thing, but I think most people will stay in SCM mode. Delta signatures does sound kind of like the way that they're going to make sure people can easily tell when somebody's making a big move. So they worked on it more here in July, but I believe they introduced the idea back in June. Here we go. Delta signatures. This mechanic has vehicles emit signatures when certain actions are performed, such as ping activation, the activation of quantum boost, and the changing of master modes. So, like, significant things. Yeah, quantum drive spool detected kind of stuff. The, oh god, what is the, one of my favorite parts of Elite Dangerous? This kind of stuff. Frame shift drive detected. That's it.
Warning, capital class signature detected.
So I think that we would get something like that whenever there's a Delta signature. The computer would just chime off and let you know that something significant is happening. And now we can all listen to it because it's amazing sounding. Love that. Thank you, MQ. YouTuber. You're wonderful for recording that. But yeah, I think that kind of thing is a nice sci-fi cliche. Feels good to hear it. Pretty cool sort of thing that happens when fun stuff is going on, you know? Fun things and cool things are great. We love those. You just resubbed and got ads? I never know if Twitch is supposed to get rid of ads when you're subbed or not. Despite all these new mechanics, you wonder if they will ever truly remove hard death or not. Like hard death on a ship? No, I think you'll have to hit a specific point on the ship to blow up their ship. Yeah, sounds, dude. Okay. Core gameplay continued supporting transit in the run-up to the live release while adjusting how transit data is stored to lower the maintenance overhead on level design. Elsewhere, the team reworked the shot enunciator. It will turn red if someone targets the player and fires their weapons. Enunciators for weapons, power, thrusters, and shields were completed while overheating and off states were implemented. The enunciator is the thing, the little like status board in your ship. I don't have any shots of that, but it's at the top of a lot of the ships. All these years, you never get sick of the capital ship arrival in Elite. So good. It's so good. The ongoing mission system refactor progressed with the team fixing various issues causing existing behaviors to break or function incorrectly. The mission system can now run in minimal mode, allowing it to be included in the seating service and upcoming Mission Factory service, which generates contracts. Clients can now query available missions, and the contract generator can apply legacy settings to work with the previous system too. Implementation of service beacons for the mission system refactor began, while core gameplay supported mission design on remaining blockade runner and cargo hauling issues. Where's AAK? Where are you? Service beacons, ban. The transit refactor is so important. You know, I remember reading about transit refactoring like, man, years ago. I'm guessing that was a refactor that started in order to handle server meshing before server meshing was working. So they had to then go back in and like actually make it refactor for the server meshing. But I remember transit specifically being one of the most important things that needed to be changed when server meshing came around. And I'm glad to see it finally is happening. I hope that's going smoothly. Wobbly, thank you for the 16 months membership on YouTube, my friend. Jaybird said, hope you are living prosper in your new home. I'll hold down Antioch until your triumphant return. We'll be back shortly, my friend. About a month and a half. We'll be back over there. KBBQing it up out in that area, that's for sure. Yeah, I can't wait for more complex missions. Lots of reasons. It's also for things like making elevators properly work inside ships. Ah, the Carrack rejoices. Oh my gosh, the Carrack needs elevator help so badly. Okay, developers working on cargo gameplay primarily focused on major remaining stability and gameplay issues. For example, they fixed several problems with hangar instance queues, getting stuck, and players being assigned to the wrong hangar. Functionality was also added to the instance interior manager to better support removing non-active hangar instances. Oh yeah, the Reclaimer also suffers hard with elevators. If all these changes make it into 4.0 and are stable, then you will happily start playing this game again. Please CIG get it right. I don't know if all of this will be 4.0. A lot of this is 4.0 stuff, but we don't know what's going on with scanning and radar. Not sure if that's actually 4.0 focused or if that's just going on. Resource network and engineering stuff, yes, maybe. Charge and drain, definitely, we know that is. But again, you know, always just go by, see it when you believe it, right? Alrighty. Several hauling mission bugs were solved relating to warehouse manager and freight elevator kiosk interactions, alongside issues with the kiosk transferring items on and off the loading platform. Bugs were also fixed related to Halsey auto-loading. Halsey. Halsey. You know that? Auto-loaded commodity transactions and ship loading platforms getting broken by obstructions, with the fixes set to be implemented in the near future. The Halsey needs so much help. So much help. Hey, Slanted Face. That's all I can call you, because that's what it says your name is. You come back to check up on the game through my channel. It's dope to see we got the office looking good. Shout out to Mrs. Tomato for that one. Stay up, looking like you're in Jedi Knight era. You're like the third reference of like a Jedi or Obi-Wan kind of thing. I like it. You know, if that's how this is taken, I'm gonna get more of these because I'm a Jedis are cool. I always talk about how I like non-Force Star Wars, but Jedis can be pretty cool. Yeah, Mrs. Tomato knocked it out of the park with this setup back here. It's wonderful looking. If you forget what the name is, it's back there on the wall, like all this kind of stuff. We also have some more emotes coming for everybody who's like subbing up and becoming members and all that jazz. We got some interesting emotes on the way. As you can see, Echo's already using some of the new ones we have. But we've got plans, my friend. And I think Mrs. Tomato just added, she has a Mrs. Tomato emote now. Should be on there. But thank you so much, Slanted Face. Appreciate your support. Thanks for coming and checking out. Hope you're liking this update as much as I am. Okay, finally for core gameplay, The devs spent considerable time reviewing internal and external feedback to plan further improvements to the features released in Alpha 3.24. All right. And thank you for plugging the Patreon. Patreon is the best way to support. Definitely much better than Twitch. Oh, it's not in yet. Added in a second. Okay. Economy team. Oh, I hate seeing an economy team update this small. That makes me sad. The economy team spent the month getting closer to uniting all their work into a cohesive economy consisting of ships, items, missions, fuel, consumables, freelancing, careers, and more. Progress was also made on the economy setup for Pyro. No way, there's no way. There's no way we're not getting an economy update at CitizenCon. It's well overdue. The last time we got a major economy update was 2021, I believe now. It'd be... Yeah, it would be this. And this wasn't even really an economy update. This is like a lot of stuff update. This was all kinds of gameplay update, and it was all just talking. We're like years and years overdue for some kind of big update on the economy and what's going on with it and the direction they want to go with the simulation. How far is CitizenCon now? A month and 10 days? I mean, the reveals at CitizenCon will be pretty big. There's the topics themselves are pretty big. We've got Planet Tech V5 will most likely be there. I'm expecting the economy to get an update, be there. Server meshing will probably get an update there. I don't know, but I feel like they'll give us an update on Nyx. Base building and crafting. And that already is 5 pretty big topics. And I'm sure there's going to be some more. Obviously, Squadron 42 will be a big focus. ISC will be fun this week. Zeus and MFDs. Yeah, that's going to add a lot to my video about ship production. I don't know about bounty hunting. I don't know. Bounty hunting would be great to hear about, but I feel like they've put that away for a little while. Goss system. That'd be cool. What system is Nyx supposed to be? Nyx is an unaffiliated neutral system that is generally inhabited by people who do not like the UEE but don't consider themselves pirates. Hello, by the way, Citizen Her. Welcome in. What's that star map called? The Arc star map, yeah. So the Nyx system is pretty cool because it sits right on the edge of a massive nebula, which likely means it'll be useful when it comes to exploration gameplay being a bigger thing. And they'll be able to play a little bit more with the spacescaping out there. But as you can see here from the icon, it's unaffiliated. Plenty of connections, though. Connection to Odin, which is where Squadron 42 takes place. Connection to Virgil, which is a Vanduul system. So that's interesting. That'll be our first connection to Vanduul space. Actually, our first connection to alien space. Yes, it's literally just the first connection in general. A connection to Pyro, which is making it pretty obvious choice for a third system. A connection to Castra, which is a very strong military stronghold. Retired stronghold of military, but still heavy military presence from the UEE. And a connection to Bremen, which was an easy way for people to get out of human space and into Xion space, I believe. Can't remember how you go from Bremen, but overall, it's an interesting system, and it is, like I said, it's unaffiliated. Discovered in 2582, it was left unclaimed by the UEE after deciding its 3 planets were not terraforming candidates, and attempts to mine the dense glacium ring were deemed too dangerous. They'll go about, you know, shaping the lore a little bit around this system to make it more interesting for us in terms of gameplay. But it's fairly large. Now you look, it's got a big asteroid beltway out here. It's got a smaller one on the interior, a couple of planets, jump points, Delamar, which, you know, everybody remembers Delamar with Levski, who was around in 3.0 times. So there's a lot to be done with Nyx, and I think they'll have a lot of fun with it. It would definitely be a good idea for them to introduce it in terms of discussions at CitizenCon this year and focus more on that than on Pyro. But who knows when we get it. I think there is a chance that if we did get 4.0 this year, it's a big if, I know. If 4.0 went live this year, though, I could totally see Nyx coming out by the end of next year. But I won't set my expectations on it. Yeah, it'll have a great skybox. What's up, Carlos? Welcome from the podcast. Oh, Stanton will be remade. Everything will get updates as other things get updated. No diggity doubt. I mean, that's why Lorville got its update. Wish you could have seen Delamar. Delamar was cool. I didn't really value it for what it was back then, because we didn't have outposts or anything on it. It was just that landing zone. But it's a very cool atmosphere. I think one of the coolest parts about Delamar was that it was so small that you could fly in orbit over it and turn your ship off, and your ship would fall. Basically, you could enter a natural orbit. You would fall at the rate that your ship could go around Delamar, so you could just float there in your ship, orbiting this gigantic asteroid, chilling in your ship for however long until the servers crashed. And back then, they didn't crash all that much, which was nice. They need to grow the content teams if they want to start making new systems that quick. Well, I mean, that's why I think they showed off a lot of the stuff that they did show off last year. Specifically the stuff when it comes to outposts and the assets that they've been creating for outposts, I think are a big part of the expansions they want to do when it comes to bringing in new systems. The thing is, it's the writing, you know, the writing for missions and factions, and the Apollo system, the Apollo subsumption system that makes those missions happen. That's what's really important. But the libraries that they've created to make these new bases has been expanding pretty significantly, which is good. Enjoy the hauling and listening to me at the same time. Glad to join you for some hauling. Thought I had footage of that. Can't find. It's around here somewhere. Yeah, I don't need to find that. It's just oh, here we go. So these kind of expansions that they've been doing, like you can see that they've been trying to get their asset library to be a lot bigger so that they can just throw together outposts and mix and match stuff to make for some larger, more interesting areas. And that's really what we've been seeing from Pyro. But I think the same sort of thing will happen in Nyx. You're also hauling while watching the stream. Hope the hauling's working out for you. Is there a free fly during Citizen Cons? Usually they have one, I think at IAE. I don't think they have free flies during Citizen Con though. Could be wrong. But yeah, this kind of stuff I think we're going to start to see a lot more of at Nyx too. All right. All that coming from the economy. We only had 2 sentences in the economy update. We figure out how to stretch it. Graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. Alongside the ongoing stability and performance improvements for Vulkan, the graphics team improved debug tooling for the long-term health of the dev experience. For global illumination, support was added for high-gloss specular reflections, which builds on the previous rough specular work. The team also added live updates to GPU ray tracing acceleration structures and began working on improvements to transparent objects. From what I'm hearing, little whispers and murmurs, the graphics team is hard at work. I'm wondering if they want to try and get one of these, any of this stuff in for 4.0. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything in particular, like set expectations, but they're working, and it's either optimizations or new features, you know? That's the nice part about having all these different teams, is like some people are working on their own stuff and we completely forget about it till they introduce that feature. IAE is at the end of November, yeah. 3 to 4 weeks in. You know, CIGF said that since certain milestones have been achieved or will be soon, that means they can develop other star systems quicker, but as long as you think will take them to actually get Pyro implemented into the game and everything working properly, no chance of Nyx system next year, earliest end of 2026 if it is next one after Pyro. But Pyro has taken a while because they had to build a bunch of space stations out for it. They had to build new types of space stations. They had to get together the outpost archetype for that type of system, and they had to build the factions. Nyx only has one faction, which is the... I can't remember what their name is. But Nyx only has one faction, one major landing zone, which is already built for the game, because we've played it. And other than that, they can use the outposts that they built for Pyro. I don't know if they will, but there's a lot of stuff that's already been built for Nyx. The Planet Tech team said they were done with Nyx back in 2022. And you could see from... They showed us the height maps of Nyx. This is from 2021. They were showing height maps. And the planetary surface generations, again from 2021. And then we had a dev that told us it was done, at least planet-wise. But I think the main things that make these systems take a while are the space stations and the landing zones. And Nyx only has one of them. Although they'll probably put some derelict space stations in there. Just for funsies, you know? Would I consider using F11 full screen mode for these longer website views? I usually do, but I keep jumping in between these tabs. And I don't want to have to scroll through all of these tabs with control tab, so I just keep it unmaximized generally when I'm switching a lot. What's my favorite job in Star Citizen, and what is my most anticipated? Favorite is probably cargo hauling right now. I mean, it's new, but I'm down for it. My most anticipated is exploration and data running. I would like to be a data broker in the game. Extra funsies. Yeah, they'll probably have a couple of space stations in there just for the ability to repair and refuel and stuff. Alrighty. Where were we? Performance-wise, the global illumination system now supports both temporal and spatial subsampling to accumulate the same visual result with fewer rays fired per frame. Ongoing tasks consist of async creation and additional types of destructible renderer objects such as cloud chunks, gas cloud chunks, gross, to reduce frame time spikes on the CPU. For PlanetTech V5, the team focused on enhancing terrain performance through a computer shader-driven pipeline that caches material attributes to reduce redundant computations. Okay, sure, all right, whatever that means. They gave us a pretty solid update on the PlanetTech last year, but it was nowhere near, I think, what they're going to do this year, which is actually give us the next version of PlanetTech. We got PlanetTech V4 like 3 years ago. The amount of stuff they've done with Planet development since then is pretty gnarly, and I'm excited to see what kind of stuff they have to present for us when it comes to V5. I think a lot of it will be this kind of stuff that they showed us last year, where they even talked about the future of planets, but I'm thinking more unique large structures and generally the machine learning that they talk about at the end of this segment. I'll let you guys have a listen here.
These lovely height maps out of it that tell us a really realistic distribution. You can see here, this is a height map, so the black areas are low. You can see all the little rivers and valleys, and this had 0 art input aside from this image, which is a very nice result. It's early days. This is based on something called a custom diffusion neural network. It's, like I said, it's pre-trained on Earth data, and it's been built up in patches so that it just doesn't become too expensive to build. And the little circular patches get like added together, and to avoid any seams in the image. And then just to help you visualize it, I've just put some colorization on it to show you where like snow and beaches might be, and just wrapped it around a planet to give you a better sense so it doesn't look quite so abstract. Yeah, but this is very early days, this stuff, but we're hopeful this will be helping the future of how we build planets quickly and efficiently. Thank you. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is our Gen 12 renderer and Vulkan. This has been ongoing for quite some time.
Okay, I actually skipped the part where he was talking about that stuff, sorry.
And we'll be reusing the same type of patch-based system that Will talked about in his water presentation, and it should give you major CPU savings as well. So we're quite looking forward to getting this in. Another benefit is that it's going to give us the ability to add more complicated logic on, so we can do more diverse and interesting terrain, like things like, you know, we don't have beaches at the moment, we'll be able to achieve that. And there's other similar things where, based on the local conditions, we're able to do more advanced decision making.
Wonder if they'll show us lava.
The thing we want to look at, which is probably the thing we get asked about the most, is our scattering system, which is what's responsible for putting all the trees and the rocks down in the world. We're going to, again, move this to 100% of the GPU, and that should let us have vastly longer draw distances right up until the horizon, and much better performance. So we'll finally get rid of the dreaded pop of trees coming in for you. We also have to integrate it with our harvestable system, the resource system, and the awesome fire system you just saw a minute ago. Another point is it's going to be a hierarchical-based system, which what that means is we'll be able to use nearby vegetation or rocks to influence what other vegetation and rocks can grow or will show up. And this lets us produce much more complicated rule sets, so we can do things like have a tree that maybe underneath it doesn't have any grass, or maybe certain trees come together in clumps. And we'll get a much more natural distribution of vegetation. And final thing we want for planets is we want to be able to build them much easier, much faster, and we want to make sure they are truly unique. At the moment, our planets are unique. However, they are built from type of tile sets, like pre-built things that get mixed and matched together and blended in complicated ways so that you don't see the repetition. But it's not truly unique, not in the same way that the Grand Canyon might be, or the River Nile, or Mount Everest. And that's what we want. So to get that, we need to replicate the complicated natural processes on Earth, like geology, climate, erosion, and these things aren't trivial. So we've got 3 options. We've got offline tools, Houdini, Terragen, things like this. We could simulate all these processes in the engine. But we've started some R&D a few months ago on whether we can use machine learning to do some of this. So just to give you a quick idea of how that would work, or how it could work, if you just start with some random input here, it's just like some noise. We run it through a temporary simulation, so we can get a more reasonable approximation of simulation at different altitudes and latitudes on Earth. And then what we do is we categorize all this into different biomes. So based on the temperature and moisture, you find out what is a desert, what is a forest. And this part is crucial. So this is the input for our machine learning algorithm. We could come up with this image any other way. You could hand paint it as an artist, or we could just randomize the noise to get a different set of images. And then what we do is we take the large data sets we already have from Earth, from Mars, and from the Moon, and we train it on exactly the same distribution, so biomes, so forests, grasslands, and things like this. And by training it on exactly the type of data we get in reality, we can take this and then push just that, and then we can get these lovely height maps out of it that tell us a really realistic distribution. You can see here, this is the height map, so the black areas are low. You can see all the little rivers and valleys, and this had 0 art input aside from this image, which is a very nice result. It's early days. This is based on something called a custom
Early
diffusion.
days. Make a song out of that. But yeah, so this is kind of a little look into the Planet Tech stuff that they've been working on, and I think we'll hear a lot more about that during CitizenCon this year. I am not wearing a kimono, although I think it might be inspired by it, at least. Just a little sweater, a little nice white sweater, a little, you know, nice and comfy. All right. Alongside this, the revamped material scattering system now supports physically based distribution, allowing for denser biomes such as jungles and forest by eliminating distinctions between large and small mesh ground covers. A new per-object climate concept and new terrain attributes were introduced, including geology and soil maps. This is kind of related to the stuff we just listened to. Planet Tech also spent part of August supporting the Montreal Tools team on the location scatter tool. For this, they provided a new terrain query API for large-scale queries and extended query capabilities with further tasks aimed at supporting SDF-based terrain queries at signed distance field, which is basically putting a layer of detection over the top of an area. It's like it's how the shields work on ships. You can define a 3D shape, and the signed distance field will create a curve over that shape. Following on from last month's report, the VFX team focused on fire hazards. The feature work is now complete, with focus shifting to bug fixing and design balance. Particular effect connections for jump tunnels were implemented. The devs are now focusing on polishing the VFX and supporting graphics technology. The team also progressed with significant data conversion to add GUIDs, which will help the VFX artists manage particle effects more efficiently. Elsewhere, performance improvements are underway, including using multiple threads for particle updates and adjusting VFX regression tests to detect issues earlier. Sorry for all the silence. I'm looking up something real quick here. That's pretty old.
In the Nyx system, either on Delamar or the other planets of Nyx.
I don't know. I was trying to find the place where they actually said that they were done with the Nyx planets. But,
Than in years past because of that.
Okay.
You mentioned Nyx. I'm not going to let you off from that. What can you tell us, if anything, about your work on Nyx?
Yeah, we did work on that. Like lots of
we did.
work.
There was
It's
work.
pretty good. You know, it's like we still have to do like one final polish pass on it. But yeah, before server meshing isn't ready, yeah, it's not us holding that back, I think. Yeah.
Is Nyx being
sorry,
created?
is that too much?
No. Is
Okay.
Nyx being created with the same planet tech tools that are the other planets and moons are?
Yes. Yeah.
Is Nyx a perfectly round thing, or how does it differ? It seems like it might be different. Go ahead. If you say anything that anybody gets mad at, they'll get mad at me, not you.
Are you
Attaboy.
asking about Delamar? But like
Yeah.
Nix is a system, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm speaking of Delamar specifically.
Right. Yeah, every now and then we get asked to see if we can't make a non-spherical planet. And we try, and then
Aren't all planets non-spherical? What is this?
something breaks horribly, and then we say we can't. So I think it's going to be a little bit less spherical than it is right now, and it was Delamar was before. But it's not going to look like a potato, unfortunately.
Not with that attitude.
Right?
We need a follow-up update with the folks who are holding up Nix, you know? Because the Planet Tech team is good to go. It sounds like they're like, hey, it's not us. Somebody can get this done because it's not on our plate. But I'm guessing that would be down to like missions, right? Because when it comes to a star system, how much stuff are we actually seeing added to a star system that's like new? Like if we go through all these ISCs that are for 4.0, jump points, those are for every system. Missions, oh, that's 324, sorry. So jump points, that's for every system. The space stations could be something that requires custom work. So I think that would be one of the most important things, space stations and asteroid bases. But then you've got like fire hazards, that's in everywhere. Outposts also could be unique for this, for the system. But I think Nix would use similar outposts to Pyro, just with different decorations, because it's another frontier system. It's not going to have cities like in Stanton, so the outposts would likely be using the local materials and stuff. So a little bit of work on the outposts, definitely. Again, your asteroid bases, these are like your factions. Factions would be a decent amount of stuff for a new system as well. So I feel like factions and unique locations would be the biggest thing holding back a system like Nix. So yeah, we can see here the planet and mission setups. 13 weeks is nothing. That's absolutely nothing. This is not all the work that's been done on Nix, but they haven't even added it to the progress tracker. So I'd be really interested to see what kind of work they've been doing on it, and maybe that's something they'll go over at CitizenCon. We'll have to see. All right, Interactables. The Interactables team spent time in August on items for Pyro mission content. Cool. That was a lot. Lighting. The lighting team continued to support multiple areas of development, including Pyro space stations, acidic caves, and closeout work for Alpha 324. Lots of work on Pyro. Last month, the locations team, specifically the landing zone team, progressed with tasks for Alpha 4.0, including adding new areas and additional polish to Pyro's space stations. So this is just a lot of polish and closeout work going into 4.0 and 324. Pyro space stations and acidic caves are 4.0 stuff. Pyro mission content 4.0. Pyro space stations 4.0. The locations team pressed forward with ground bases, moving the initial modules through Graybox. Improvements were also made to several new location types coming with Pyro 4.0. Ground bases, these might be the fobs that we're seeing in Stanton now. Once Pyro is released, you'd love to see an episode that explores system construction flow from start to finish. That would be cool. Is shippy ammunition a commodity? Not yet, but it should be, shouldn't it? Mission design. Mission design spent time in August updating the salvage mission archetype, enabling it to spawn ground panels and provide FPS gameplay at scrapyards. This is, we already know this is part of the missions coming in 4.0 as well. They also continued to work on the repair location missions recently shown as on the social gameplay of Pyro episode of Inside Star Citizen. The team is targeting 3 main gameplay elements for the initial release: charge and drain, which is charging devices that use batteries for operation; replace component, which is replacing fuses in relays; and repair pipe, fixing damaged pipes using RMC. Again, this is the combination of multiple gameplay options to build out what I perceive to be like the engineering or maintenance side of gameplay. I really appreciate that it's not just one of these things, because one of them I think would be a little bit boring. And I do hope that we quickly can get those back in Stanton as well. The team also continued to design resource gathering, including determining which commodities commodities buyers in Stanton would want extracting from Pyro. That's pretty nice. There's your additional reason for players not looking for combat to get into Pyro, to get the most valuable commodities that don't spawn in Stanton, requiring escorts, which then requires other players to get involved, and you pay them out, and these missions better pay well. They're also expanding the mechanic to include FPS resource gathering, which will be the first step towards basic MMO-type fetch quests. Elsewhere, a new mission type progressed and the team will discuss in a future update. See, this is like, I think when people say they want content, this is the meat and potatoes of what they're talking about. Like, they want things to do and reasons to do them, and missions at the very least go beyond sandbox gameplay in giving new players something specific to go and achieve, like an objective to go after, which is good. This combined with the economic changes that they're talking about here could make things a lot more interesting, but I really, really hope that they're coming in around the same time. We still don't know when this economy stuff's really going to come around. Do I think the progress tracker is still a good tool, or did they stop using it? I think it's a tool to see what's being worked on or what is expected to be worked on, but not to set expectations on. Only thing you don't understand about server meshing is, are shards going to always encompass all systems, or are you going to jump to different shards when traveling? Shards will cover all systems. So each shard will be like basically what we see as a different server right now. Narrative team. The narrative team spent time last month working with design and branding to further develop the new contested zones and enhance the gameplay that players will experience there. The team also made improvements to the cargo hauling missions and continued to work on unannounced mission content that will be coming to Stanton and Pyro. It's nice to hear Stanton involved there. Some people believe that if they don't go to Pyro, they're not going to get anything new out of this next update 4.0, and it's not true. I mean, you're already getting engineering, and the new fauna. The fauna is not really going to give you too much, but you know, at least you can go hunting a little bit more. It's nice to know that there's also mission content that's coming in Stanton as well, and hopefully some more updates to the locations too. Yeah, MFDs would be something, and hopefully we get Quantum Boost. Fingers still crossed for that. I know I keep saying it. I hope it happens. Bring us Quantum Boost in 4.0 CIG. That would be a huge get. That would be great. The narrative design team focused on improving AI behaviors at settlements to give a more natural feel to the NPCs that players will encounter there. They also fleshed out the new social AI test bed. Yeah, those AI updates could also help with Stanton as well. If server meshing makes the game more stable, then Stanton will be better just for that. Online technology. Isn't that the whole game? In August, the online services team progressed with features scheduled for Alpha 4.0. Significant progress was made on the updates for the mission and markers system, and the team completed the new player trade service, which will allow players to trade game currencies in a server meshed environment. Really wish this said, we need a good way to exchange items with some kind of escrow service functionality. Like, I should be able to transfer ownership of something to somebody else, right? Anything that I have bought in game, I should be able to transfer ownership to somebody else. That way you can hold arms deals, you can trade resources, you can trade all this kind of stuff and have a little bit of backup from the official game that keeps you safe when you're doing it. But we still haven't heard about that yet. Yeah, an inventory section to the wallet would be cool. Loading out ships for sure, yeah. Time was also spent testing and gathering metrics for a newly enabled EAC anti-cheat feature in Evocati and the PTU. Alongside helping to stabilize the Alpha 3.24 release, online services helped player relations unblock accounts with lingering login issues. Hands up if you if you've had some lingering online login issues. Item lockers would be nice, yeah. Or an item elevator kind of thing. Regarding live tools, the team met with player support and player experience during a visit to the Montreal studio. quote, "It was a great opportunity for both teams to sit together and work on the future of the Network Operations Center and how it could improve the quality of life for the support teams with its current and upcoming features." End quote. Elsewhere, the architecture for the error reporting tool progressed well. Personal loans would be interesting, yeah. Boomer Actual, good to see you in chat, mate. Welcome in, buddy. The VFX team continued their support for jump points and dynamic fire, both of which were shown in recent episodes of Inside Star Citizen. And they also completed their work on acidic caves, 2 vehicles, and an unnamed energy weapon that has functionality not seen before in the PU. How much money on the table that's a taser? What do you guys think? Could we see a taser coming into the PU? You think it's Volt? But they've already named the Volt weapons. This one would have to be something they haven't told us about yet. Beam guns? Maybe beams. Maybe beams. Be shocked if it was a taser. If it was a taser, that'd be big for bounty hunting, for sure. Ultimately, this was a great monthly report. Despite some of the sections being fairly short, this had some really good bits in it. Especially, I mean, the biggest thing is this right here. Critical components, removing soft def. That's a big deal. I'm really excited to hear that. Also some good stuff from charge and drain, overheating. Nice to hear service beacons getting worked on. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on. And I think right now, things feel really turbulent in the game. And I think that's mainly because of delays. You know, at the end of the day, I think people are just very frustrated that 4.0 has taken so long and Pyro has taken so long. I think if 4.0 and Pyro had already come out this year and we were still getting the same updates here, well, obviously we wouldn't be getting the same updates because this is all very 4.0 focused. I think a lot of this, the feel and the excitement of the community would be a lot different because the progress we can see in the near future, and people will say this is generally just how they operate. You know, dangling the carrot, making people excited, making you feel good about what's coming up, while also delaying things. But genuinely, these updates speak so much more towards an actual game being made than they did a year or two ago. Monthly reports have always been the very interesting part of following Star Citizen's development. Getting a very clear look into what's going on in different parts of the game and reading it through and connecting the dots, always been a lot of fun. But if we had gotten a monthly report that talked about engineering gameplay, scanning gameplay, cargo hauling gameplay, mining gameplay, the removal of soft death, the economy, like these are topics that just didn't really come up that much before. I mean, I can even jump back real quick to, let's say, Star Citizen monthly report, August 2022, and see what they were saying back then. I'm about to get smacked in the face. I'm going to eat my words in a second here. Watch. It's going to be like the most interesting monthly report from that year. You go down to their features section. Gameplay features are working on the resource network with relay items for the Hammerhead and Hull A being updated to align with the vehicle content team's work mentioned above. They then started to look into setups for the Crusader Ares and other similar sized ships. So they're talking about similar stuff in the resource network, but the difference between that and the details that they're showing us here, engineering screen receiving polish, the design actually functioning, and looking into the details of how power plants are interacting with one another, how components are going to lose power and that's how your ship's going to shut down. Those kind of details go way far beyond what these kind of monthly reports used to say. This one, they're talking about how a coffee machine and a lamp connect to a ship's power. Wonderful. I love my coffee machines. But again, it sounds like design work as opposed to actual polishing work. I like how this says work on life support was finalized and is now awaiting downstream support. That was, Jesus, that was 2 years ago. So I think also what makes this better is that we're actually seeing this in person. These monthly reports are so isolated because this is the only place we were hearing about these things. But now we get ISCs and citizen cons and actual footage talking about these features that makes it feel more real, I think. And combining that with other things like, you know, what they've been saying about the economy teams, how the graphics folks are actually making progress on things that we've seen delivered over the last year, like the Vulkan API and upscaling and graphics improvements like GI. The new space stations and outposts. These things, these monthly reports make me feel better about the direction of the development than they used to. Because it does feel like they're actually working towards game stuff as opposed to just building out features that can eventually be plugged in together. And I know this is still relatively early. It's 12 years in. It's been a long freaking time. Okay, I'm not saying that like we're early in a game's natural, normal development. But as far as Star Citizen is concerned, the game has only started to just come around. The engine took so much of the time. Squadron 42 took so much of the time. Working towards this level took way too long. But that being said, we can see things starting to be plugged in together. And I think that's really exciting. Now, the game is fully cooked. Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's ready for release. Let's go. Take it away. CitizenCon is going to be an interesting one this year. I'm probably going to try and put together some kind of my predictions of CitizenCon before they release their schedule, because once they release a schedule, things become a little bit more clear. So keep an eye out for that for the next couple weeks. You think what you enjoyed about it most was that the experience feels much more on rails? Get on a test thing. Get on, test a thing, things break, take a day. In the PU, the expansiveness feels more all-encompassing. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't have salvage. We didn't have interactable cargo. We didn't have cargo hauling missions. We didn't have new outpost locations. We didn't have... I guess the missions on space stations aren't a thing in the game yet. There was like... Basically 2 years ago, you were doing mining, maybe some box deliveries in combat for the most part. So it certainly feels a lot better to have more options in the game now. What happened with the server meshing tests last week? I haven't seen them yet, and I've had to delay a video because of that. So hopefully we see that come in soon. I was hoping we'd get some messaging on that today, but we haven't seen anything just yet. Diving hard into the testing phase of PTU gave you a better appreciation for the movement and development of the game. Could take or leave the marketing. Could see the work day in and day out through the testing. Yeah, the marketing, You never expected 4.0 to come out this year, even when they announced it. It's always 2 years away. Boomer Actual, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I see you. Much love to you. I hope you enjoyed this monthly report. We are now going to take a look at Benoit's talk about 4.0 and what's been going into it. I'll have a little bit to say throughout, little context to throw in here and there, comments, all that kind of stuff. But that was your monthly report for August. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed that more than the last couple of months. Yeah, Soft Death, I mentioned that briefly. Soft Death is going the way of the gutter. Core gameplay implemented a new behavior for critical components which will replace the existing Soft Death mechanic. When live, only certain items like power plants will trigger an explosion or soft death when destroyed. So it'll be more based on the damage to components rather than your ship. Now, I don't know when this is coming in. Might not be a 4.0 kind of thing. But it is in development, which is nice. Polaris this year, or will it wait till 4.0? I don't know if the Polaris will even wait till 4.0. I don't know if the Polaris would come with 4.0. They said Polaris for IAE, but we have no idea of knowing when it's coming. It seems like they're on target for that, maybe, possibly. But with 4.0 kind of unsure, I don't really know what the whole plan is for that. We go back to where he talked about it.
Out of them. And then that allows us to focus our development time and our efforts really on the much more unique and the important. There's a fact streamline most of our large RSI ships, and then we can see what we want to take on after that.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything we want to talk about today. However, before
we leverage the experience that we've got within the team, and it just allows us to, like I say, streamline everything. So first up, we've got the Polaris. Next up, we've got the Galaxy. Then we've got the Perseus. And that kind of closes out most of our large RSI ships.
For the release.
And then we can see what we want to take on after that.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything we want to talk about today.
What's the big thing on the backlog that's coming this year, though?
The Polaris. It's coming.
Saying it very quietly.
Yeah.
Saying it very quietly.
It's the Polaris. Like, although people have obviously seen the teasers and trailers, and the outside looks very, very nice, but that's because that's what we focused on. That one had some of our most talented artists on it to try and get it to a highest possible standard in time for the flyby and everything. Big shout out to all of our art team that's been putting so many hours into it.
I think like Alex, Dan, Lloyd, all kind of smashed that exterior. Obviously, we've only shown the exterior, or are only showing the exterior so far. The exterior, we've kind of, it technically is in Graybox, but obviously visually it's far
We're not talking about the flyby in Invictus. There's a bunch of chat saying, didn't we already know that? No.
Oh, sorry. We're talking about the actual release as well. Yeah. So we haven't just made the exterior and gone.
No, we're talking about full flight ready.
Yep.
Released to the backers.
Yep.
They can fly it and use it this year.
Yep.
Yes.
When?
Which one on the camera? I'm going to recreate what we'd filmed for ISE that's now redundant.
That one. You're looking at
this one.
That one.
So the Polaris is going to be flight ready, fully released at IE this year.
John, we got you on camera, man.
So IE this year, not 4.0.
Not 4.0.
But for whatever the patch number for Invictus is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be linked to 4.0. Now, they didn't necessarily say it would be before 4.0, but I feel like if 4.0 didn't make it in time for IAE, he's not saying, like, they're saying regardless of whichever patch it is.
And you're ready to go on record for that. What happens if you don't make it?
It will come out at IAE.
What happens if you don't make it, Ben?
Well, he's my boss. It will come out at IE.
Dude, this shit better freaking come out at IAE. They will never live this down. None of these other ones have come out yet. None of these are going to come out until after the Polaris does. That's kind of what they were saying. But the ships that they did say from last year that they were delivering in the next 12 months, every single one of them has come out, plus more, except for this one and this one. Those are the last two we're waiting for, and the Legionnaire, of course, but that one's not coming. We already know that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, they said the Polaris by IAE. We'll see what happens. Either way, there is your monthly report of August. Now we are on to server meshing update and what's going on with 4.0. Let me stop this. Don't even try to remux this right now. Oh my gosh. You're gonna lag me up so bad. All right, I'm gonna put that remux on pause. Thank you. Okay, so that was a monthly report. Now we are on to the most recent update with Benoit. This is last week. Benoit Beauséjour, I think I hope I'm getting that relatively right. I said both him and what's the other guy's name? Mark Boudet. I don't know if I've gotten either of those names right, but I keep on saying them, and I hope that I get them at least kind of right. This is an update about what's going on with server meshing 4.0, testing, what happened with 3.24, all that kind of stuff, stability and whatnot. This will be not quite a deep dive because I don't have too much to add to this, but I did want to watch this with you regardless and get a chance to have some commentary on it. As always, we'll be talking it up, chat, during this. Anybody who's watching this after the fact, I'll probably cut that stuff out so you get a little bit more of a smooth watch. But join us live. It's nice, you know? We got banter. We go back and forth. We do the stuff. Anyways, let's get to it.
Provocative. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live. Star Citizen Live. Did you know that I have two different shows? One is called Inside Star Citizen, sometimes abbreviated as ISC, and it is pre-recorded and goes on Thursdays.
By the way, Scoober, thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate you. Anybody who's wondering what that means, Amazon lets you use your Prime subscription to throw a sub at somebody for free every month. So if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that. And I think there's also... I think Twitch is also doing a 30% off on subs right now, which is really just taking the 30% that they had already added on for the mobile apps. Don't do your subs through Apple iOS. That just charges you more. But yeah, I think it's September or something like that. Is that Prometheus on the desk? Oh God, I love that. I feel like the Odyssey is the Prometheus of Star Citizen.
Other times I have Star Citizen Live, abbreviated as SCL, and it goes on Fridays. ISC is where we pre-record and we interview a whole bunch of people and we cut them together. We make them we make them sound professional sometimes, and put a bunch of gorgeous B-roll.
Blind Dark, thank you for the love. Appreciate you.
About the development of the game, and then SCL is where we sit here and I don't know. Every single week I seem to forget what I'm doing every like this. They're two different shows, despite sometimes me forgetting which one I'm doing at the very beginning, and a host of Spectrum and Reddit comments that continuously invert them, and it drives me crazy. Joining us on the show this week, a special treat, a short abbreviated show, won't be as long as normal. I know I said that a couple weeks ago. This is real because this guy's super important. He's got places to be. Is Chief Technology Officer of CIG, Benoit.
Oh, you're not going to try the last name, are you?
No, Beauséjour. No. I stumbled on your first name. It's just
okay.
Like we used to say,
Benoit.
Used to be the oldest trope of SEO. We'd get somebody on the hot seat and they'd forget their own name. I don't think I've ever forgotten my own name.
What is it that I do here again?
What is it that you do here?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people?
Sure. So I'm the Chief Technology Officer for CIG. So I'm basically representing all the engineers at Turbulent, yes, but also at CIG at this point. So everybody.
That was perfectly timed. Representing all the engineers at Toes. Thank you, MotoX, for the Prime sub.
I basically care for, make sure they have what they need to succeed, orient the work, get the amazing task of calling priorities, and basically helping people make sure that they win at their jobs and that they deliver on what the game needs.
So
that's my job.
That just sounds like everything is your fault.
Yes.
I'm going to put this at 1.25 speed. I hope you guys don't mind. If it's too fast, I'll slow it down again.
Benoit has agreed to be on the show this week, again, for an abbreviated show. So we can we're in an interesting point in our development, technology-wise. Server meshing is on the horizon. We attempted to get a huge tech preview going last night, but there were some network issues, as I understand it. 324 just went out.
Put out a message about that yet? Let's see.
It's an interesting moment in our technology history, so we thought we'd bring him on and answer your questions. So as normal, we put a thread up on Spectrum. We asked you to submit your questions to Benoit. Most of them were about things like, where's my spaceship? or what can you tell me about this feature and whatnot. That's not specifically what we're here to talk about Benoit with. Talk about Benoit. Jeez.
I don't know.
Nope, not yet.
Did you know that I'm not sleeping well? So we collected your
Dude, none
questions.
of us are sleeping well.
We're going to go through them now. So the first question I have, Benoit, is simply we've recently released Alpha 3.24. How'd that go?
Well, it's an interesting patch. Let's just say that. So 24 has a lot of new uses to some very large systems, right? And so
some
the
foundational
release of the
systems.
patch, foundational systems, yes, systems that have been in the game for a long, long time.
Getting their first update.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's been a bit of a rocky release, simply because there are some issues that happens when more players are present that affect core flow of the game. Right? So anything that affects you retrieving a ship or leaving the hangar or things like that are instantly high priority. Some of them work well, on internal builds, and then when we get real players on it, there's always something new. In this case, for 24, there's a lot of issues that happen related to cargo elevators, freight elevators, the new hangars.
No, we know that.
And so we've been hotfixing quite a bit, figuring out what was going on. Some missions didn't work for the same kind of reason. And so we've been kind of analyzing data and hotfixing.
You won't even say the name ATC.
Well, yeah. So let's just say that like I said, there are some systems in the game that are complicated, right, that date back to a very long time.
That's right. That's right,
And
Benoit.
ATC is at the core of it, right? It's one of them.
Show me on the doll where ATC touched you.
Oh my god, all over. But and so yeah, ATC, transit, are systems that there are any issues with these systems are debilitating instant.
ATC, transit, NPCs, and gosh, what's the fourth? What are the four horsemen of Star Citizen, of ruining your day in Star Citizen? Probably just like general bugs is the fourth.
And so it's not a case of if it works 60% of the time,
just
it works
servers
every time. It's a case of if it doesn't work 1% of the time, then it's very high priority to find a fix. So we've hotfixed a lot of stuff in the last couple of
I
days.
just consider
There's more coming from
elevators
the
part
gameplay
of
teams,
transit,
obviously. Some changes to how we deal with obstructions in the hangars are coming as well, which is has been one of the most problematic issues. Like the checks on that side were a lot too, I like to say, hardcore, which would cause a lot of side effects and cause some hangars to break. So we're in the process now of changing all of that stuff to release a little bit the hold that the ATC has over cleanup and how it prevents some stowing. So there's already a bunch of hotfixes that went live for that. So
the hold over our well-being,
alleviate a lot of the issues people have been running into with hangars specifically. But otherwise, like 24 is a super interesting patch for a lot of reasons. Also because we've introduced some new metrics to Star Engine that have launched in 24. So we have now a lot more information about the state of the game servers and how they perform. So we've instrumented a lot of things in the engine. And to be clear, we've had metrics before. This is more about long-term metrics that we track over a long period of time. So that allows us to really correlate important events, right? Like an area streaming in causing problems, certain game components costing us, frame time in certain areas. And so I like to say that these new metrics are like if optimizing the game is like a large cornfield, the tools that we used to have to do this were very optimized, very great microscopes, right? But now with these new metrics, we have a radar that tells us exactly where to look for and drill down. And so I'm hopeful that with 24, we've already got a couple of reveals, just seeing the live release roll out with these metrics. And so I'm hopeful that's going to bring forward a lot more improvements as well. So that's why I'm excited about it.
It's one of those things where
it's
hard to see it now, but so much of what we're building towards with the way that freight elevators play into pyro and stuff that you're going to see at CitizenCon later this year, next month, 6 weeks, are all based on stuff that's in 3.24. It's I understand it's rough now and stuff, but it is a foundational patch that will be built upon and will bear fruit in future releases. All things.
Yeah,
what we hope.
One of the things that maybe I don't know if I don't know if we've communicated this way. I mean, Chad probably did outline this in one of the Insights Our Citizen, but is that the tech behind the way the hangars function is actually it's an instance interior, right? Which this is the first use we have of the instance interior system, but you can imagine what we'll be able to do with that technology moving forward. I know that some of you guys have encountered ghost sounds when you go in your hangar, like you can hear other stuff.
Like,
ooh. That's because in reality, the hangars are superposed on top of each other and instanced in place. And so when you go to your hangar,
it doesn't sound that ghosts make, right?
I'll just qualify it as black magic rendering culling that happens, that you're basically in your hangar, that's what you see, right? Now there's a bug with audio, that's why you've heard some audio from the other interiors, but the reality is all these hangars are actually on top of each other, which is when you start thinking about it, it's a bit weird. And then when you request your ATC gateway, that's when your actual instance is moved into place, so you can exit and enter. And so that tech will be able to use that with throughout the universe, for a lot more things for instancing interiors, which is super key for a lot of the gameplay we're trying to do.
All right, so we are 10 minutes or 1/3
Or ghosts
through our
say boo, right?
So I'm going to skip. You tell me when we get to that 30 minute if you can stay later or whatnot. But I'm gonna skip to some of the more pertinent questions here to make sure we get them in. Server meshing. So obviously we had a series of tech previews earlier this year. We were supposed to start one up last night UK time. We're hopeful to start one up again today. A lot of folks are. I'm gonna combine three questions here and get it.
And we still don't have the. We still don't have the preview channel, and honestly, you've only had like 2 or 3 this year. That continues to be a sticking point for me. I was very interested in seeing how they utilize the preview channel, and they really haven't. And I'm hoping that after server meshing stops freaking sucking all the air out of the room, they do make more use of that and use that as a place to test the things that are more not stable.
And get a broad thing here.
What's up, Bursa? Evo.
What are we testing for now? Why has the gap been so long between tech preview tests?
Yeah, that.
And is this really working as well as we hope?
Yeah. So the gap, I'll start with the gap, right? So later in the spring, end of spring, we did a couple of good tests that gave us a lot of good data, right? So what we've been trying to do on the meshing side is be a bit more pragmatic and methodical in how we approach the development. And so these tests really gave us a lot of data, right? Because of the way we conducted them, we were able to try different mesh configurations, look at performance, specifically on the hybrid, which is the replication layer service, and to really be able to hone in on what we need to improve in order to get the scale that we want. And so what came out of these tests in the spring was that there was already things that were touching on the performance of the hybrid and the game server communications that needed improvement. And so this is what we call the component's called the NMQ, the network message queue. Now that's there's a lot of chatter online about, there's a replacement thing and it's called, is it Rabbit MQ, whatever. No, so we're not even in that realm. We're talking about really the networking component that transmits data between game server and client, game server and hybrid and game servers. It's like this, think of it as the communication library underneath it. So, like all games, that technology is using UDP transfer.
Does that make it like the underlying functional part of the replication layer? That's how I understood the replication layer was transporting data from clients to servers to clients to entity graph to everything in between.
Transport to get eventually consistent updates out as fast as possible. Now the network message queue had a couple of issues when it got a lot of data in a very short period of time. So these spikes would cause, and that's what we saw in the final server meshing tech previews, was that when large areas would stream in and a lot of players would join in and leave at the same time, the network message queue could go into a tailspin where, think of it as a drain, right? And you're trying to push stuff in the drain. And at some point, if you exceed the bandwidth of the drain, then water starts filling up. Now, the way that manifests itself in the game is interaction delays. So, pressing F, trying to get in the ship, and it takes seconds before the system reacts. Powering on the ship takes forever.
God.
Now I'm not talking about the one-offs, because you can.
That's what really makes the game feel super janky too, is like the way that things just kind of hitch when you're doing everything.
Have interaction delay in your game based on your connection. That can absolutely happen. So it's influenced by your machine, your connection. So if you're playing on a 486 without the turbo, button on a satellite connection, you might get interaction delay, right? But in this case, we're talking about widespread, like when an entire shard gets into that state, right? So that's what we saw in the tech preview. So that we had to go a little bit back on the drawing board and actually fast track one of the refactors we want to do, which is the introduction of a replacement message queue. Now we call it replication message queue, replacement message queue, kind of, we've basically called it RMQ. And so this RMQ is a new implementation of the
CIG has always been top of the line when it comes to naming things, so I understand.
That has more abilities to adapt to higher bandwidth and react to these large message pushes that happen when we start streaming in large areas or when a lot of players are coming in and out of the game rapidly. And so what we're testing now is RMQ in a server mesh setting. So for you guys who don't know, 324, half of the servers on live currently run RMQ. The other ones are running NMQ still. We've been gathering data across both of them to see the performance improvements, the gains. So far, those have been really good.
See, that's good. It's great to hear that they are moving forward without making a big deal of it. This is kind of part of what I think we were hearing them talk about. Gosh, I don't even remember where that would have been now. Was it this? Significant progress was made on the no. Somewhere in this monthly report, they talked about including some things. Gosh, we just read this. How do I not remember this? There was somewhere in here that they talked about adding some things into the game that was testing in preparation for server meshing. Let's see if I can control F it. Send multiple servers, blah, blah, blah. Client side, no. Game currency in server mesh environment. No. I don't know where it is, but they were talking about that in the monthly report, adding some stuff in to do some testing in the background in preparation for server meshing. And I'm glad that they're doing that without needing to make a big deal out of it. I'd love to get that information, but it's good to hear that things were still going along, even if they weren't necessarily talking about it.
A lot of really good improvements. And so now we want to test this in a server mesh setting. So what changes in a server mesh setting is that now the hybrid is going to manage more than one game server that simulate these key areas. And so there's more traffic going through the hybrid for this at key moments. And so that's what we want to test with this next set of tech previews. So what our hope is that the issues that plagued the 800 players last time, where there was a lot of interaction delays, right? Also, some of those tests had a lot of game server crashes at the time that we did the test. But in this case, we're hopeful that all these interactions delays will be, basically gone from this bandwidth side of it. So that means we can get to bigger shards, and the experience is going to be enjoyable across that. The thing that actually did work really well in our spring test was the actual server meshing tech itself. So authority transfer, management of territories, all that stuff was fantastic, a really big success. But we did need to take a little bit of a sideways step to optimize the RMQ, which is now done, and also getting mission tested right now by you guys on 324.
See, this is the kind of, I think this is, when I talk about the server meshing inside Star Citizen that we saw a couple of months ago, and like, this is the kind of stuff I kind of would have expected to hear, and I know this is more crunchy, better for Star Citizen Live, but when we got that update, it didn't really tell us, it didn't give us a lot of context as to where we were with server meshing, and this feels like it gives us more of an idea of where we are. Doesn't tell us everything, but it's not just saying that things went well and we'll move on from here. It's like, okay, this was a problem, and this is very CIG of them to find their problem, work on it in the darkness, and then tell us once the solution is ready to be presented. And while we still haven't seen it, this is how they did things like with the entity graph replacing iCache, and I guess they didn't do this last year when they gave us that little update about how the entity tracking services of their third-party provider weren't really up to snuff. That was like one of the times when they told us a problem right when it happened. But this is kind of classic CIG.
So that'll be new information to people who, at this moment here, that one half of the 324 servers are running on NMQ and one half are running on RMQ. Has there been a noticeable performance difference?
Yes. overall, like so we track some of these interaction delays, and you'll see this is a common theme that I've been pushing quite a bit, is that we need to measure a bit more of
Imagine the
these things.
panic if after the test they had been like, our network messaging needs a full rework. But we still got that panic. We got it 3 weeks ago when they delayed 4.0, and everybody was like, but it was coming in Q3. Instead, we got the panic, but we didn't have an explanation to go with it. I'm not saying it would be better for them to do it that way, but this is generally how it goes. And maybe this is how game companies talk to their publishers and investors. Like, and again, I'm not saying that we are equivalent to a publisher or an investor. I'm just saying this is par for the course. And it would have been nice if during that Inside Star Citizen on server meshing, we had gotten at least some details about this kind of stuff. Thank you, Mihai, by the way, for the 5 subs. Appreciate your support. Who doesn't love surprises? Well, I hope to be surprised with it actually working next time they do the test, which I really do hope is in the next couple of days. We'll have to see.
And so on the long interaction, we've been looking at a lot.
By the way, I see y'all getting your... really, it's just Bursa who is validating their extra points for the Saber Peregrine giveaway that we're doing. That ship will be given away soon, TM. So if you are on Twitch and you get the points from sitting in here and watching and subbing or doing bits or whatever it is that you do, and you've built up points, you can put those towards the giveaway. We will be giving away, that is a game package including a Saber Peregrine, one of the only weaponless ships in this game. Thank God there are at least a couple here and there. Enjoy.
A lot at the amount of events, duration of these events, which players get them. And so we're able to see a noticeable improvement on that side. There are still, some interaction lag happening, but they're not systemic anymore.
It's those other causes that you mentioned. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. The thing that's also nice about this is that we have the ability, you probably noticed, especially with 24, that we have a new set of ways to deploy and canary technology on live to mission test it. So not only are we doing tech previews when it's necessary, but we also are throwing tests. So sometimes you might end up on a server that's running something new and you don't even know about it, but we know about it because we're looking at all these metrics to make sure that the new tech works as expected. And if it doesn't, we can backtrack and stop the canary, things like that. So we've been doing a lot of that in the last, the entire 24 cycle, really.
I want to ask a follow-up question. I feel like I have to here.
Mrs. Tomato trying to tempt y'all.
There are people that are just... We all know that every version of Star Citizen is a test bed. Even the full live alpha that's what alpha means. It's a test bed.
Sure.
Evocati, PTU, live, tech preview, whatever you call it, they're all some level of test bed.
Yep.
There are people that are just trying to log in and play right now. And some of those people it sounds like some of those people are going to 324 with RMQ and having a better experience, and some of those people are logging in and through no fault of their own are going to NMQ servers and having it degraded. Do we have a timetable for when...
All right, somebody make a post on Spectrum. Rise up, second-class MMQ citizens. Get your pitchforks and rise up. We will take back the power from those RMQ posers, those f***ing douchebags. I was supposed to also bleep that, sorry.
We just switch all of them over to RMQ, so we stop...
Now, the interesting thing is that currently for the servers running NMQ, we're not seeing heightened interaction delays, right? I guess just comparatively between them. We do want to keep going at it, so we're being prudent, right? So we started with a couple of shards, then we moved on to a quarter, then to a half, right? And so as this is more stable, it's very possible that within the release of the next couple patches, all servers will be running RMQ. I mean, at this point, there's not much stopping that from happening. It's just prudence to make sure that there's no new issues that would come on.
Right.
It's like if you replace the netcode for an entire game, right? Like there might be side effects, and then the typical invisible player, new crash on whatever, bad handling of slow connections.
It's responsible not to just switch everybody over.
I don't even know what I just missed. Go back.
There's not much stopping that from happening. It's just prudence to make sure that there's no new issues that would come on.
Right.
It's like if you replace the netcode for an entire game, right? Like there might be side effects, and then the typical invisible player, new crash on whatever, bad handling of slow connections.
It's responsible not to just switch everybody over.
Exactly. So NMQ does work well. We know where it falls down and at what moment. We can also identify the shards that do run into this. There was a bit in 23 of an accumulation in certain areas that we noticed shards that were a lot older had this accumulated data. And it's not persistence data necessarily, but it's based on the state of the world where it would transmit more data, and that would cause some more a heightened state of interaction delay, and so that really clued us in a bit more that our plan to do the RMQ was the right one.
Okay. 2/3 of the
But our goal is to roll it out to everybody as soon as we can.
I am
All right,
so hopeful that. Oh my gosh! Like, imagine if they just bring server meshing out into the preview channel and it like actually works and it's smooth and stuff. One can only blend their head in so many different directions. So that kind of talks about the preview channel, but this is just talking about the preview channel in terms of server meshing. And I really hate to be this guy because I've been this guy so many times this year now bringing this up. But like, let's go back to what was said about the preview channel at the end of last year, because this is important.
And you'll be able to follow along with this development firsthand on the preview channel. That's the planets, moons, space stations, settlements, and outlaw lifestyle that comes within the Pyro system, but also an entire host of additional new features.
Okay, see, this is what's still missing. Like, we got to test some of Pyro on the preview channel, but there is also a host of additional features listed here that we haven't really gotten to see.
Content and quality of life improvements like, fully functional jump points, the new quantum travel system, new vehicle HUD and MFD work, resource management, hacking, and much, much more, all being worked on in tandem.
That's what is getting me. I'm glad that we've gotten to test server meshing, and I'm glad the preview channel has been used a couple times, but this talk is addressing why server meshing wasn't done in the preview channel throughout the year. But there are other things that we're supposed to use the preview channel that we never really heard about. And they're not, they don't change the whole direction of the game. They're not going to define the year by any means. I would still like to know like what happened there.
I'm going to the big ticket ones because now we're 2/3 of the way through. Desync.
Yeah. Well, completely related.
Desync's gross.
Not completely related. That's not true. That's not fair. So the network transmission layer, right? Game server, game client does interpolation, right? So as your ships or your actions move, your actor, so your character, and your ship, when you're actually piloting a ship, the client does interpolation about your movements. So it's trying to predict what the server will say. And then the server comes in and says, yep, that's what it is. And that comes from the network queue, right? So obviously when we have congestion on the network, it's going to cause some of this. But it's also server FPS, of course, has a very large effect on this, right? And so
I'm going to make a video about this. Every time I post a poll or something about what people are looking forward to most, everybody is like, stability. I just want the game to work good. I don't care about these other features. I just want the game to run well. And I think it would be nice to have like a solid 7 to 9 to 8 to however many minutes video to talk about how they're aiming to improve stability. And this answer seems to go over that.
Desyncs are a combination of factors, right? That when you see a desync, it's could be because the server is simulating a piece and he's back in time a little bit, so he's skipping time steps. Well, he's not skipping time steps. It's not the right way to do it. I'm trying to make it simple so we don't go too deep into the weeds. But think about it this way: if the server is not running at a very decent frame rate, then when those frame rates dip, the effect will be some kind of level of desync for certain kinds of items. And so with the RMQ, we're hitting on the stuff that's related to the network transmission. That will help definitely. And with the new metrics in 24, that helps us to really hone in on what is the cause of the cost over time on frame time. Where is our frame weight? What resources are being used? What resources are being allocated? So the thing that might not be clear when you look at the game, but so the Star engine is really good at streaming stuff in dynamically and streaming it out dynamically. That's the key feature of the engine. But that also has a certain level of cost. So depending on what players are doing in the game, the servers might be doing just fine, right? Certain areas are just super easy, but then other areas stream in and then they become problematic. And so that's what we're looking at with those metrics, is to see what areas and what entities in those areas are costing us the most, so that we can optimize the things that really affect those desyncs in that gameplay, literally. So right now, the improvements we're getting there is several engine fixes, or optimizations, I should say. And then the network queue replacement is going to help on these things quite a bit.
Okay. So like we've said a couple of times, this has been the truth for as long as I've been here, for 10 years, as far as meshing whites. A bug doesn't always have just one cause. Sometimes the manifest.
Just want to say before they continue going here, it's good that he laid that out and gave us some solid. They've kind of hinted at it, and we've heard it said a couple of times in ISC now that server meshing can definitely help with server FPS, which can have a huge impact on the instability that we perceive. I think that's really, really important to actually put out there. Not necessarily to set expectation, I guess to set expectations, just to like make it apparent that it's not just bad programming. Now, there might be bugs in the code and problems there. Of course, there always are. There are always glitches that are going to happen whenever somebody is coding something. But the fact that this big back-end process they've been working towards can have a big impact on stability says a lot, because a lot of people have been asking, what the heck is, like, when is this game going to be more stable, more interesting to play? And it might not be when server meshing first drops, but server meshing allows them to finally tackle a really big part of that, it seems. I'm feeling better. I've gotten over most of the cold. Still some problems, but I'm pretty medicated right now, so, you know, keeping it together. It's good. It's good. Server meshing isn't out, so I'm losing sleep, cold sweats, all that jazz. But we're getting there.
The effect can actually be caused by several things, and that's what makes bug smashing so hard. Is you end up finding this cause, and then it still happens. This also causes it, and then it happens half the time, and then you find something else that says, this also causes it. The same goes for desync performance and stuff like this. Sometimes it's this that causes it, sometimes it's that.
Sometimes it's like, I can speak to one bug. I know you guys like bug smashing, but for example, at the launch of 24, we start getting reports that the original intro cargo missions were no longer functional, and so at first, shock, like, what's going on? It's not like we haven't tested this flow at all. We've been running on PTU for a while, plus internal testing. So what's going on?
I literally saw somebody post that the devs probably never tested the update before they released it. Like, do you really believe? Really?
So we start looking into it. And so, long story short, obviously you need to discover things.
People say the darndest stuff on Twitter.
A lot of players on live compared to PTU will abandon missions, go offline during missions, cancel missions, and so the cancellation flow of the missions would leave the cargo boxes in these inventories that we use for the missions that are shared. And so these would accumulate all these cancellations, and it weren't being properly destroyed. And so at some point, these inventories reached a point, I think it was per location, if I remember right, but that there's so much standby cargo boxes waiting there that your box is further down the data set. So and that code didn't assume that we'd have that much in those inventories. It was never meant to have that many items. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of boxes. And so at that point, you would not find your boxes and so you couldn't start your mission because those boxes were way further down. And this was completely based on accumulation of cancellations of, players abandoning missions when they're on them.
Classic developer blaming the players. Look at you. I'm kidding. just a joke. Don't worry.
That's a fantastic example of something that doesn't happen in PTU that does happen in live, because in PTU everybody's focus is on testing the mission. So everybody accepts a mission, and the majority of people play through the mission because they're trying to complete it because that's the test.
This is the kind of thing you would think would have been tested by the Cloud Test Launcher, though, where it can just replicate player actions to like a massive amount. They developed that tool, and I would love to hear how they've been using it, because I would hope that it had the capabilities to do this kind of testing on a large scale without a lot of players.
Correct.
And then you get to live and you get a completely different behavior. So it's one of the reasons it's when people ask often, why did you push it to live and stuff like that? It's because many times, this is just one example, that's the only way we find the outliers, the big ticket things.
And I mean, shipping patches too is complicating the development in general. So like, I call it the cost of shipping, but developing, right, is good. But when we give you guys a patch to test and we give you guys a patch to play, that's where a lot of new issues are discovered for the size of games that we have. Even PTU, like you mentioned, like people recopy, they have a behavior that's, it's not their normal behavior. It doesn't go through progression. They're not cutting in the middle of it. It's a lot different. And so shipping these patches, the cost of shipping is enormous. but it is very rewarding in that we then harden, in the first couple of days, like I mentioned, in 24, like was just scramble we need to fix this immediately. And so a lot of, kudos to the teams that were pushing hard to get those hot fixes out. But that's basically I think shipping these patches like requires an enormous amount of energy, right? And it's absolutely worth it. But it's where, pushing it over the hump, at some point you need to make a call, right? Because the longer a patch stays in this limbo of like, we're almost there, and are we going to discover something else at some point with the model that we have with our game being alpha? We have to move it over the hump, get those last issues sorted out, so we can continue development. Because internally, like it's like a bunch of freight trains, right? Like we got this stream of development, this release is holding the rest of the developments. At some point, we no longer have a choice. We do have to move forward.
Yeah, we feel that with 4.0. I do wonder though if that does help. It helps you kind of like double check your work before you move on to another segment. Because I'm just thinking of when I used to do lab reports or something in school, and I was going through the process of making a lab report. If every time I reached a new section of that report, I had to basically put that in for testing, for grading, would that mean that the final product in the end was better because I didn't have to do the whole thing over at the end? It's not an exact one-to-one comparison kind of thing, but the idea of getting such consistent progress checks from such a large number of people must be like a silver lining kind of thing.
Last question about performance and stuff. We talked desync performance, like this, the different causes. Server frame rates are one of the obvious things that players can often see. They can turn on the.
We also share that information.
Yeah.
Like we report it to the client so you can see it with our display.
Yeah. So one of the biggest offenders of server frame rate is also the reason why in 324, when you put something on when you put your gun on your table or something on the table, it starts bouncing and flopping around and driving everybody crazy. Physics.
Sure.
How do we get the server frame rate up? Is it just refining physics? Is it buying bigger servers or better servers and just increasing the cost of running the game to an unmanageable thing? Does server meshing distribute the load across it well, and then that'll get us higher frame rates? This
would be the stability answer, the video I would make.
You're right. Like our game servers do perform a lot of physics calculations and a lot of physics simulation. That's the nature of the game, right? Thrusters, ship simulation. Like we track so many types of geometries in the physics engine. It's crazy. Like we have a really great physics framework in the engine. For sure, like the most immediate gain there is server meshing for sure. Like we've seen in our playtest significant frame rate increase across the board for areas. Because you have less physical entities, right? In general, so that means less geometry, less allocations, less simulation. Think of the server frame rate as
we all expected it, but it's good to hear from the people working on it.
As a bunch of phases, right? And the engine is extremely well multi-threaded, meaning that we can do a lot of things in parallel. But the challenge there is always determining what we can do in parallel that doesn't have impact with other things. So what can we actually simulate that doesn't depend on anything else? And so that's true of entities. So when we do an entity pass or what we call an ECUS update, so that's every frame. And it's true of physics, and it's true of networking. So all these phases at some point need to wait at the end of a frame for everybody to be completed before it comes up. And so obviously this is all bound on entity count and also physical entity count. So server meshing from the top is going to reduce that count by a lot because you have way less areas to simulate. So less entities to simulate means that the overall wait time across the frame will be better. And so that's the first gain for sure, right? And then we can control that granularity as our meshing technology moves up. We can control the zones, the size of the zones that we want to simulate. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have an area that's filled with something and that is going to have a high, either network or engine cost or physics time cost.
Oh yeah, because
still happen for sure.
When we increase the player counts to 800, all 800 are going to go and cram themselves into the same 890 jump.
Of course. And so that's a bit why you're going to see some jitters, especially, with cargo. We're putting a bit more on the gameplay side. We're putting a bit more of the physics on the spotlight because we're using them to move, with tractor beams, moving boxes, things like that. And so, of course, we're looking at improvements, but the first one, metrics has actually already given us quite a bit of very interesting things to look at, and so I'm very hopeful. That the radar I was talking about there is going to allow us to find even more optimizations there that we can do. There's always optimizations, guys. By the way, it's always a thing. But server meshing will definitely help quite a bit. We've seen that in the last test. Like, even with the very large shards, servers were running on average a much higher frame rate than our current game shards. So I'm really hopeful for those gains, because that's going to be a game changer for the game. Like, obviously performance for the game. If we gain 1 millisecond on frame time, that's 1 millisecond directly to your gameplay. Right. So for sure, like server optimization is at the top of my mind.
Any amount of milliseconds, please. Thank you.
I synchronize with game team.
Straight into my blood veins.
So server meshing, optimization, obviously, and when I mentioned physics, that's not me throwing the physics team under the bus. That's me, as Benoit said, recognizing how much physics simulation we do in our universe. Is there anything else we can do? Just optimize and distribute the load across multiple servers?
Somebody needs to send Jared a Mjolnir helmet to put on that back wall. I know it's not Star Citizen, but I can't help but feel like it's missing. It should be up there.
Correct. There's also obviously content optimization. So, like you mentioned, there's always more than one cause, right? So optimization is, when we talk about optimization, because you mentioned one thing in your question, which was, do we just get
cleaning up your
a limit to that? Yeah. A limit that we've, I don't want to say we've reached it. We're not there yet, but there's still a server size that makes sense, right? In terms of cost per player and operations in general, right? Of something that makes sense. And so when you do optimizations, right, you need to have a box to fit in, right? So if you're saying our budget frame is X amount of milliseconds, well, then you need to optimize towards that, and you need to touch on everything. It's never just one cause or one thing. And so obviously how you multi-thread, how you parallelize the work across every phase, so that touches on every team. But then there's content as well, right? Like a good example is the first time we put cargo boxes in the game. I forget which patch at this point. I'm a bit losing track, but the actual one SCU box was composed of like 30 some entities, which was like, it looked really good.
Oh, it was such a dumb box.
But when we looked at it with the scope, it's like, okay, yeah, no, we can't do that. And so content optimization is the other pass of this, right? Which is reduce the entity counts, try to be smarter about how we construct objects, object containers. Streaming is also one, how we streaming things. So the other area of battle on the server optimization front is, once you have server frame rate, so you have entities loaded, you're simulating them every frame. That's one area to optimize. The next one is putting stuff in and out of that simulation. So streaming data in, streaming data out. And so there's these phases that every entity and game component go through. And those are, these components are written by game developers, and they do different things. Right. We have, I think, over 1,000 game components. They're not all active, but registered, roughly 1,000 different game components. And so each one of those have 7 phases they go through in their life cycle.
Jesus. 2
of them are really important. They call it register and unregister. And so this is when a game component that's attached to an entity. So entities have components, and entities getting loaded, we need to run the phases on the components. So that those components, when they register, that's where they do, I'm a security component. I need to register with the security system and let know of the AIs in the area, what's going on, and things like that.
They gave us a really good look at, let me see if I have this on here. They gave us a good look at what this looks like a while ago. Kind of when an object loads into the game. I'm not sure if might be around here. Possibly. Oh boy. This is a lot of stuff. Not sure if I actually have this clip saved anywhere. I don't think I do, unfortunately. But I know where it is. Let's go on a journey.
Yeah.
Yippee, I know which video it's in. They show kind of like the entities that make up a ship, and it's ridiculous. Like, why? Why did you choose to do this with your life? Did you want headaches until death? Here we go.
How mutations are applied to the database. Each mutation is composed of multiple commands which are executed in sequence, but commit the
So this is a constellation Andromeda, and I guess this, I don't know what these are out on the sides, but you can see how many entities they have.
Which are executed in sequence, but committed transactionally to the database. They either succeed together or fail and roll back together. This ensures that the changes to the graph are always consistent and no lost writes or errors can cause data corruption. For example, a mutation consisting of detach, transfer, and an attach commands would succeed only if all three commands are applied successfully.
So like if somebody shot a weapon off of your constellation, he's basically saying that this link that links the constellation to the gun out here would have to detach, and the whole game would have to recognize that in the entity graph, and then that would have to transfer all of that information through the replication layer, which is what they're talking about here, from the client back to the server, or I guess maybe it's a server, I don't know if that would be a server-side thing, but either way, it has to transfer it to everything in this network so that everybody is updated all at once for anything that happens to in all of these webs, for every ship and every vehicle and every outpost, all these things.
They either succeed together or
Yikes.
fail and roll back together. This ensures that the changes to the graph are always consistent and no lost writes or errors can cause data corruption. For example, a mutation consisting of detach, transfer, and an attach commands would succeed only if all three commands are applied successfully. The system retrieves a...
So, yeah. You can see the server meshing effect on his hair in this new one. Some gray coming in here. Oh my god.
Those happen when a spawn batch appears. And so what people refer to as the spawn queues is when the server needs to spawn things, right? That is a queue that is basically processing these phases to put the entities into the engine for simulation. And so that's the other area of battle, is optimizing these phases so that the spawn is faster and is sharper. And despawning is the same, right? So you finish a mission, you leave away, we stream out, we need to get this out.
The funny thing about this is, like, once you look at the networking of the background of all of this and think about how it has to be replicated across all the servers in a shard, like you got 10 servers splitting up a shard in Stanton. All of those servers have to get updated, then send all those updates out to all the clients that are connected, however many hundreds or thousands of players that is. And then you go back to something like Maelstrom. No, this is the wrong video. You go back to something like Maelstrom, which is also simulating some ridiculous bit of damage and like breakable parts. And you look at how many breakable parts make up a ship.
To be able to model stress and strain, I'll go into more detail in that in a bit. Breakable clusters are hierarchical. They mirror the hierarchy of all attached entities involved. They also embed the hierarchy of all animated joints. And they also embed the hierarchy of all physical geometries. They essentially represent a graph.
That's too much. And they want to do this for all the ships. Like, it's absurd. It's kind of insane. And I'm not a dev. Maybe it's not as crazy as it looks to a lay guy like me. Oh, lay guy. But it comes off as kind of gnarly.
Right. And so that's the other area of optimization in battle that also has an effect on gameplay that we're really diving into with these new metrics.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought up the content optimization in addition to feature and service optimization. One of the recurring criticisms, sometimes valid and we deserve it and sometimes not, is how often we rework a thing. There's been 3 or 4 versions of the Freelancer, for instance, and there's a really good reason for that one. But and that's because we discover inefficiencies in the way it was built the first time, sometimes because of fault, sometimes because there just wasn't a better way to make it then, and there is now, and stuff. So revisiting that, reworking that allows us to make it more efficient. The Freelancer famously, gosh, if old-time backers will remember, and I've told this story before, but if you've heard it, I'm sorry. The second version of the Freelancer had 200 rivets, little rivets that went around the panel lines, and the artist who built it for us. It was a third party client at that time because it was still early days.
Sure.
They copied the rivet from the concept model instead of I don't want to spend time remaking a rivet, and then just copied and pasted a concept rivet over the entire ship 200 times. And so a single freelancer now had a greater resource cost than the entire Idris.
I finished a lot of CAD related assignments in college like that. Not super efficient.
In Squadron 42. And folks, for the old hangar module days, will remember if you owned all 4 freelancers and you loaded that up when they got remade, your hangar module was a slideshow.
That was it.
And stuff like that.
I remember also there was a thing with the original Cutlass Black.
Yeah.
First Cutlass, that if it would be in your Frustum view, that was it. Like that thing was like, I don't know how many polygons it was. It was a crazy assembly originally. But yeah, content optimization is a big part of this, right? And it's also the hardest because the universe is very large, right? So when we talk about content optimization,
absolutely,
Box as an example, but we're talking about harvestable asteroids, plants, AI characters, your character, like everything, right, needs to be looked at under the scope to go like, is it under the entity budget? Is it draw calls? Because the client performance is also important, right? Like we're talking about server stuff now, but your client also needs to render that stuff, right? And so content optimization is a super big part of this that we have to get a lot better at in general. Because our approach is always to
that artist is like watching this like, how did they catch that?
Time to optimize it, but sometimes we have to because of the nature of our development, we have to put it in one patch and then optimize it in the next one, and so that does cause some frame drops at some points, but
we constantly make improvements to our level of detail system and stuff like that. We are over by 10 minutes, and I'm sorry. Sure. I'm gonna keep you for 2 more questions.
All right.
And I'm gonna say this while you're live, so you can't say no without looking like a dick.
That's okay.
Thank you. Do it.
Obviously, Turbulent got their start with the project, building the platform, building the website.
Yeah.
Let's see how I want to phrase this. This isn't a question from the thing. This is my question. I got you here now. You're on the hot seat.
Go. Hey, come on. I'm ready.
It's like, let's go.
One of the many annoying things that exist, one of the most annoying for me and for many people, is that these items that they've pledged for, these smaller items that they get on the website that are rewarded from events like that, they get lost. They fall through the cracks. They disappear into the unknown through no fault of people's own, and there's no way to easily recover that in the verse. We've been talking about this idea of pledge item recovery for a while now. It was actually last November when we first really started to talk about it. It did not arrive in 3.24 like we and a lot of folks hoped. Is there anything you can tell us? Give us some hope.
Well,
is this? Will it come out tomorrow, please?
So in terms of the item recovery in general, right? There's been a lot of discussions in 24, which was, to be honest, very interesting for myself and the design team mostly to read. Was the different opinions about the item kiosk, right? And drawer, no drawer, access to inventory. I mean, this is still gonna go on, right? And now that we have at least one release done with the current system, but I'm not saying
no drawer.
But that's one of the reasons for why the item kiosk exists. Also, right, was to basically give you guys access to get your items back, right? And so I don't want to say when the feature is actually going to drop because I don't really know specifically when, but I can tell you that adding all those kiosks in every location, getting them hooked up, and getting the actual recovery part, we had to take it out of 24 because obviously 24 had to go at some point, right? And there was more pressing, development and issues to solve with that, so we had to make that decision. But
man, I don't believe that was ever even going to be part of 24, honestly, and I doubt that's a hot take. I think most people probably weren't expecting that to be part of 24. I'll catch you later, Anno. Thanks for hanging about, dude.
The actual kiosks themselves are already in there. I mean, you see that in the verse now, they're usable. And so that means that feature is in a good place now to be implemented and be added in the patch. I can't tell you which one, but I can tell you that we talk about that stuff all the time, about, hey, when are we going to close the loop on this? When is it going to land, right? In terms of the database work too on the back ends, that's already ready to go. So it's really about, when can we get cycles from the game teams to get that in there? And I do agree that's for me is also a bit, that's a pet peeve of mine, like being able to get your items back, especially when they're unique, is super key. So
yeah, I mean, I use the term pledge item recovery, but it's really unique item recovery. It's the thing.
Yeah, it's the ones that you only have one of and that are important. Now that said, there are plans, for how this is going to work for Star Citizen, not just during the development, but as a whole, right?
Insurance.
you know, there's more, and we're going to discuss about this, I think, at CitizenCon a little bit with some of the things we're going to be showing, but there is
They should
a
just
larger
tie
plan.
it into item insurance and make anything you've ever bought with real money have lifetime insurance, and then allow you to insure other items like components and stuff, and use that as their whole, this is how you get it back quickly kind of thing. It would tie into the gameplay a little bit more, at least.
Plan on how purchased items are going to work and how that ties up to the gameplay of the universe. And so there's going to be more updates on that for sure.
But not tomorrow?
Not tomorrow, unfortunately.
Last question is just sort of a personal. We've been talking about a lot of tech stuff here today.
Yeah.
You and I go back 10 years now at this point. There was a time when, you know, I was one of the few people at CIG that interacted regularly day to day with the Turbulent folks. You've gone from
Could be tied to crafting, yeah.
Turbulent. And the last time we had you on the show, we knew this transaction was happening, but we couldn't tell anybody yet. Which is why we talked a lot about the history of Turbulent in that show, by the way. Yeah. Now that it's happened, and now that it's gone through, it's still going through, or you know, it has gone through, but the after effects, the repercussions of it are still happening. How's that been? How's that been for you? Going from CTO of Turbulent to CTO of all of CIG, to going from a web development platform to a full game development thing.
I mean, you know, ultimately it's software, right? So for me, it's I'm a bit of a natural there. It's been a crazy ride for sure in the last year, going from, you know, I'm going to use general numbers here, like 100 to 150, you know, maybe engineers in general, to like, you know, the amount that we have at CIG and the different teams. The thing that I find the most satisfying is that we have so many incredibly talented engineers at CIG, like from our engine team, graphics, AI, audio, tools, R&D groups, gameplay teams, you know, VFX programming, all these, like our teams are so talented.
Please remember the janitors.
Right? And so it's really an honor to have the opportunity to try to make their lives better, right? Improve the internal processes that we have for our engineers, make sure they have career paths at CIG, that they're fulfilled, that they work on things that matter, right? So one of the big roles of a CTO is to make sure that we're working on the right things, right? That we're not, you know, just developing and then hoping for a result, that we're actually driving for the results that we want, making the right calls across that. So for me, it's been very, very fulfilling. Also very difficult because my, you know, like the context switch is crazy, right? Going from all these subjects, right? But very, very fulfilling. And I'm so proud of the team that we have. Our engineering teams at CIG are best in class, right? They're really making miracles with smallish team, like in terms of the pure engineering teams. Like,
hey, you never know, dude. Maybe there's like a janitor engineer class, kind of like somebody's got to develop the new tools that you can use to more quickly clean up after the people. You got like an automatic plate picking up kind of thing or something.
An engine, building the tech that we need for this game. I mean, the level of talent is really incredible. So it's been roughly almost a year now, you know, that I've picked up this role, and it's been only, you know, positive. It's also been really positive, I think, for the Turbulent family in general that joined in the CIG family overall. It's made communications easier. It's made our missions easier to communicate. You know, it allows also the cross-culture pollination, things that, you know, Turbulent do well, things that CIG do well. We try to get the best out of it, try to influence each other out of it into one big family. So it's been a really good ride so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's really, really cool. Plus, I love this project. Like, you know, there's nothing more that I want than for this, for all of our tech to come together and then to really make this game the best thing that it can be for them. So
for anybody who didn't know, the company that he was CTO for, Turbulent, he's a co-founder, worked with CIG for a long time before they were acquired. They worked with them since like 2013 or 2012. Then they got acquired, I think, in 2021 or 22. And they've done a lot of the back-end stuff. I'm actually going to post a link to a video. You can control-click this if you'd like. I highly suggest it. This is a video I put out earlier this summer that talked about the acquisition and why they did it, and my own theories about, well, not theories, something they literally said, that the studio was focused on creating star systems more quickly. I posted as their 100 star system problem. They're not going to make 100 star systems, but I think this company is very focused on that now. Since I put that video out, people from the company have reached out with both some minor corrections as well as thanks, and interesting insights that I probably am not supposed to talk about necessarily. But I'll say this, the video did at least strike a bit of a chord somewhere in the company. I don't know where, but you can check that out. It summarizes a lot of what he's talking about here. And save it for after the stream though. Hang around.
So it's for me, it's like I'm just ecstatic about it.
It's been nothing but positive. It's such a bullshit executive answer.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make 100 systems. I mean, it was a different game when they talked about 100 systems.
No, hang on. Don't say that. What's been difficult is, if you want the downsides of it, is really catching up to speed to all the disciplines, right? Understanding the state of things to be able to make calls, right? So I mean, my people laugh here because at the office, you know, they lock me up in this office because I'm always on calls nonstop from like 8 a.m. to like, I think the first time I get up during the day from my desk is at 2 p.m. and then, I need to eat something, and then, you know, keep going, right? And so
Sounds awful.
that's the part that's difficult. The intensity is really up there, right? Really, really up there. But at the same time, I feel like all these things really move the project forward, and so it's motivating. But it is hard on the day-to-day for sure.
A big acquisition is never easy. There's a lot of overlap in jobs. There's a lot of differences in work ethic and how you want to go about certain tasks. While this was a good acquisition for CIG, it has not been entirely straight up positive, you know, which is interesting. I mean, that's how acquisitions go. But I would be interested in knowing just how much of the plans that we have been presented with over the last couple of years were derailed in some way because of this acquisition, or slowed down, or possibly even sped up.
All right. Well, Benoit, thank you for staying much longer than we agreed.
I expected that.
I try to do the short shows every once in a while, but then I always pair the idea of the short show with the people who talk a lot, and it's just. I think I know better. But I appreciate you sticking around. I'm going to let you go. Folks, thank you for watching. This has been Star Citizen Live. What did we call it? Tech Talk with Benoit Beauséjour.
Oh my God, so good.
Do you want to know what my orange case is? Do you remember Fisher Price Constructs?
Oh my God,
what?
Really?
Yeah,
why is that?
Shit.
Got my whole.
Why?
Oh, is it the OG one too?
Yeah, it's the OG. I'm an engineer now too.
Got the constructs in it.
Yeah, I'm an engineer now too.
That means I manage you.
If you haven't checked out yesterday's Inside Star Citizen on creatures and characters, it's a show. Be sure you watch it.
Probably pissed a lot of people off.
Come back here next week. Next week on ISC, we finally pull the curtain fully back on the 2 new Zeuses that are now coming in a 324X patch. It's X because we don't know if it's going to be 0.1 or 0.2 or whatnot. It's and the new MFD.
There's a possibility of it being 0.1. That would be insane. I feel like 0.1's coming out within the next week, so that doesn't seem likely. Probably 0.2.
That's coming alongside it. The new MFDs are super cool. And if you're like, how can a new MFD be super cool? Check it out. They're cool.
They're cool from what I've seen.
That's Benoit. I'm Jared. Thanks for watching. Thanks for just letting me do what I do. We really thought yesterday's ISC might be the last one they let us publish. Keep your eye on the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website and Spectrum for news about the tech preview channel. If that hasn't started yet, it'll start when they're ready for it, and it's really important for the project and for everybody involved that we get as many people in there.
Hasn't started yet.
To stress this stuff as possible. So your participation is tremendously valued and appreciated if you can make the time to jump in there and help us out. So thanks a lot. I'm Jared. That was Benoit. I already did that part. That's Dave and Pete over there. You never see them. Say hi, guys. Okay. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care. Bye.
I wonder if he ever actually does publish something without being sure it won't like get him in trouble. Okay, so that was a little bit of an update on server meshing stability and what's going on with testing. I think there's some interesting information there, especially about the stability of the game and what can improve it think I'll work on a video for that. God, I got do a video for these server meshing tests coming up though. Stability. I need to do one for how to make a spaceship. There's a lot of potential stuff for this, which is good. I like having a lot of videos ready for pre-CitizenCon, but boy, we're gonna be busy. Anyways, thank you all for chilling for this whole stream. A little bit longer than normal. Got to go over quite a bit of stuff though. And, ooh, hope you got something good from it. Got to learn some good stuff. And, remember, we still have a giveaway going on for the Saber Peregrine. Do not forget. There was, oh boy, there's a good chance of winning that one. We haven't had a ton of people get into it yet, so make sure to get your entries in. There are multiple ways to enter. You just got to follow the link once it pops up. Yeah, thanks again for hanging out. Hope you got a good little bunch of stuff out of this. Go check out that video about Turbulent now. Go, give it a little watch, hang out, have some breakfast, have some lunch, eat something you love, give somebody a hug you love, the normal stuff, all the usuals. Before we go, what are you most excited for? Zeus 4.0, server meshing, base building. What's it gonna be, huh? What's your big thing? What's got you coming back over and over? Because maybe I'll take something from chat and make a video about that as well. Do I think all players need to have the same type of PC to make the game run better? That would just never happen, Yeah, eat somebody you love. Go chomp chomp. Whatever gets rid of desync. Yeah, so stability. It's all about that stability, huh? All right, y'all. Well, we've got some streams scheduled for the rest of the week. We got a cooking stream coming up on Friday. We're making bangers and mash. One of Mrs. Tomato's classics, the first meal she ever made me. It was delicious, and we'll have some fun making that. Gonna be doing some 0 to Hero on Wednesday, so if you want to see some true gameplay from myself, I will be hopping in and actually starting from ground zero in the game to start my own series and get that up onto a gameplay channel soon TM. So make sure to come by and check that out. I might do it Friday as well. It depends on what's really going on in Star Citizen. Maybe they'll do the server meshing tests, in which case I'll stream that. Maybe I'll do some org stuff. Maybe I'll do 0 to Hero. I'll let you know. Either way, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, you can find me right back here. Probably won't be 6 since I just got through it. Yeah, it's how consoles do, but I don't think it will ever happen for a PC game. Anyways, cheers to you all. You're amazing people. Love you all. I will see you on the next one. Have a wonderful day. Peace out, folks. Bye-bye.